Piece of bread is proof they are not feeding us actual food anymore. Since when does bread do that?
Like a sponge.
Food is not food anymore.
Nope.
Like, do you know what azodite bicarbonamide
Never heard
is?
of it.
Well, it's an ingredient that's banned in Europe that's used to make foam plastics like yoga mats
What?
and shoe soles.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, that's gonna make us question everything. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, let's seek the truth.
Michigan woman just became the oldest person to hike the Appalachian Trail. The ozone layer is healing faster than expected and could fully recover in our lifetimes. Helsinki has had 0 car crashes in the last 12 months. They've purposely been lowering speed limits and upgrading infrastructure for pedestrians and cyclists.
There is some evidence that time travel is real. Conspiracies surrounding the iconic pop star Michael Jackson have been circulating the internet for a long time, with many people claiming he faked his death. But no one talks about the strange artifacts in history that prove Michael Jackson was more than a singer. This is an Egyptian statue that was carved in 1550 BC that strangely resembles the pop figure that would come centuries later. And this is a painting created by Raphael in 1514 that was named Portrait of a Young Man. This painting also strangely resembles Michael Jackson, who didn't exist until his birth in 1958.
Piece of bread is proof they are not feeding us actual food anymore. Since when does bread do that?
Like a sponge.
Food is not food anymore.
Nope.
Like, do you know what azodite bicarbonamide
Never heard
is?
of it.
Well, it's an ingredient that's banned in Europe that's used to make foam plastics like yoga mats
What?
and shoe soles. Now, we put it in our bread because it makes the dough rise faster, which means more output per hour and more profit for the manufacturer. There's also another ingredient called diacetyl tartaric acid esters of mono and diglycerides. It is a dough conditioner that strengthens the dough and keeps it soft for weeks, extending the shelf life, aka, once again, more profit. The downside is that
All about
it
that
leads
money.
to inflammation of the heart. Calcium propionate, a preservative. It prevents molding, which maybe a lot of us haven't seen in our food in a while, but it does happen naturally if you don't eat your food. It is linked to a bunch of developmental issues, motor and cognitive impairments, language delay, dementia, seizures, autism. In fact, here is a pretty long list of chemical ingredients that are commonly found in our store-bought bread here in America that's banned or restricted in other countries. So if you're feeling bloated, foggy, tired, inflamed, breaking out, or just off, you might want to check the bread.
And we wonder why there's so many problems in the world with people. Look at what we are being fed. Maybe there is something to the point that people have about, oh, back in the day, this is why, not this piece of bread specifically, but all these chemicals in everything that they sell us now, essentially. I don't know. Am I tripping or what? What do y'all think? Stay weird.
You know that
It's all about that dollar bill, man. He was saying stuff, bro. That is said like you couldn't freaking pronounce, man. If you just, I guess now we need to be freaking looking at our bread, bro. Look at the back of what they putting in this bread, man. Like I said, they using it to make the dough last longer, to make it rise faster, all just for the profit line, man. That's crazy. Well, the fact that some of those ingredients are banned in other parts of the world, but they're not banned in the U.S. Has me scratching my head.
the Pirates of the Caribbean ride in Disneyland originally used human bones? Let's talk about it. In 1967, the Imagineers could not afford to create human bones, like fake ones, so they actually borrowed actual corpses from UCLA, and they put them in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. Also, these photos are not actually of human bones. At least we don't think so. There are rumors that they're real, but I don't believe they are. TikTok, please do not ban me. But it's a big reason why people think the Pirates of the Caribbean ride is haunted, because hello, there's like a whole bunch of corpses apparently still there. I don't personally believe that these are real, but I wouldn't put anything past Disney. They'll do anything to save a buck, and if they can just use stuff that they can get for free, why not? If this guy is real, they have him arching his back for all of eternity. That's got to be painful. The people that are saying this, that there's actual bones still in there, they say that the absolute one that they think 100% is still real is the one that's above the captain's bed. So how are we feeling? Do you think that these are real bones of actual human beings or not? Comment down below and follow if you're into stuff like this.
Yeah, we
Oh,
might
no.
already be dead. Great. This is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Stop it, mate. People have been freaking out on social media over the last 2 or 3 days about the news headlines of this butterfly-shaped hole opening on the sun. This does not sound good at all. It really doesn't, but let me explain. First of all, this didn't actually happen only 2 days ago. This actually happened early in September, so people just have brought it up now for some reason. Now, it is essentially a coronal hole, so it's kind of scary because it's going to fire out solar storms and things at Earth. It's not dangerous to us, but it could cause power outages and other things to be happening on Earth. It is scary though when you think about how big it is. 35 times the salt. That's insane. And obviously that could fire some pretty nasty things and solar wind towards Earth because it's coming in our direction. But as I say, don't worry, it's not dangerous to us, it just could cause outages and some stuff. You may remember last time though, when we had something like this, not this big, but we had it, we got the aurora which was visible all around Earth, so this could potentially happen again. So keep your eyes out, you're going to be fine, but as always I'll keep you updated.
Can someone
Okay.
explain to me what was captured hovering over the skies in Denver, Colorado? Tons of amateur videos, all capturing the same thing from different angles, are floating all over social media. But no one seems to have an explanation for what it is. If you haven't seen the viral videos, take a look at this. Look at this, right over there, right above the house. Watch. They're spinning. What are those? Are
No
those
idea.
orbs? I paused it and screen grabbed it right about there. I couldn't enlarge it any better than that, but that looks to me like orbs. Are those orbs, or is that something else? Take a look at this video from another angle. They're not red, they're white.
Second night in a row. They're back.
And they're white this time. Watch when he zooms in. Look at that. What is going on in the sky?
I mean, this is pretty indisputable
Over
evidence.
Denver, Colorado. As of now, no state or local authorities or officials have come forward with any type of explanation as to what those things are that you've seen floating and hovering over the skies of Denver, Colorado. So if you're from the Denver, Colorado area and you captured any of that on photos or anything, please hop in the comments and share that with me. And my question to everyone else is, what do you think those things are? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, I'd love to hear from you.
Apple dropped a new product, and they want to see exactly how stupid you are. Apple just dropped some shit called the Apple Pocket. And of course, you see that Apple continue to play in your face. And let me tell you this shit is $130. A sock for $130 to put an Apple iPhone in. They literally made an iPhone purse for the iPhone. I'm going to tell you two things. Number one, if you spend $130 for this shit, you deserve everything you're going to get when you buy this shit, because you're going to get something. Number two, if you plan on throwing this shit over your shoulder and walking down the street, remember this, somebody is going to take that iPhone from you. And to be honest with you, this got to be the worst shit that Apple ever dropped. You got the long ones paused for $230. You got the short ones for $1. What is this, man? And you know how I know people is going to buy this shit? Because everybody is talking about this shit right now. This is the test right here. This is the Are You Stupid test right here. Because are you stupid? You gotta be if you pay $130 for a long sock to put your phone in. I'm out.
Nurse.
That has to be crazy, bro. Like you said, that's a test right there, man. I didn't even know the Apple was making a sock until I freaking came across that video, man. It was just too unbelievable. I had to add this to my account, bro. The Apple socking us $130, bro. just a kid around me. And the fact that there's two different versions of this, like you said, long one pause, and I guess there's a shorter one. That's actually crazy, bro. Whoever buys that, man, good luck to you, man. I have no worries.
Was so lazy that he killed his patients to reduce his workload. Reports are coming out today that an unnamed 44-year-old German man has been sentenced to life in prison after killing 10 of his patients and attempting to murder at least 27 others. Prosecutors say that he targeted mainly his elderly patients by injecting them with lethal amounts of painkillers or sedatives to ease his workload during night shifts. Bro, killing because you can't be asked is wild. But what makes this even worse is that all of these offenses took place over a period of just 6 months. And it might not even end there because authorities believe that he could be linked to even more victims prior to this time frame.
Jim Carrey is gone. He's gone, fool. Jim Carrey is gone. We are starting to see this more and more often when it comes to these Hollywood celebrities, where they're just not looking the same anymore. And no, I'm not talking about old age. I'm talking about the whole facial appearance gone, like changing. And most of them don't just be a little slight change. It be a major change, y'all. Look at Jim Carrey. This man look totally different. Am I tripping? Let me know down below in the comments if I'm tripping. But I know this man look totally different, fool. This whole little event, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing, was weird in general. Y'all know who this girl is, right? This is this girl right here, all grown up, 25 years later. This is also the girl. Just take a look at what's going on in the picture, fool. This right here should just let you know that this whole little shit is weird, fool. I can't say too much, but y'all see what I'm trying to get at, right? Shit weird, fool.
You guys heard of this radio station? It's like really old, called Coast to Coast. This guy, he always interviews the craziest of people. And there's one story, Average Joe calls in, he's like, don't really tell people this story because he's like, I don't even know if I believe it. But he's like, this is what happened to me. This guy collects like motorcycles and stuff, and he has like 2 motorcycles in particular that he like loves. And he told his daughter, like, when I die, you can sell everything, but please keep these 2 motorcycles within the family. One of them was like some like Honda something from like 1970. Drove it to the coffee shop. He's getting a coffee. This guy comes in. He's like, hey, who has the Honda? And he's like, yeah, it's mine. He's like, no way. He's like, I have one just like that. They just started talking, and he's like, what other bikes do you have? He mentioned the other one that he really loves. Like, no way, I have that bike as well. He's like, that's crazy. It was passed down from my grandpa. No way. And he's like, weird. He started to cry. He like, I'm sorry, can I hug you? And the guy's like, yeah, sure. And then the kid whispers in his ear. He says, in October, do not go to Alaska. The guy is just like, okay, all right. He's like, but I do travel to Alaska at least 6 times a year. And he's like, that's it. That's all I need to say. And he's like, it was really nice meeting you. And then he left. He's like, this is really weird. He said, I don't know if it was the sun reflecting off of something or what, but he saw a flash and he couldn't find the kid. And so he's like kind of convinced that it was his grandson time traveling.
What in the world?
Yeah.
The dad and his son went missing just randomly for 11 days.
Detroit police confirmed that investigators saw no signs of the boy after searching the home 4 times.
They were on CNN live news, and this is the biggest plot twist. The reporter, she was like, Justin, we found your son.
Charlie, we're getting reports that your son has been found in your basement.
What? But you know, like when men start to hush. Wait, you're not supposed to find her. And then,
sir.
Oh shit.
No words?
Wait. No, he was still living downstairs. Like, yeah.
Why did he do that though?
I think he just like didn't like his son and he wanted to trap him downstairs.
Oh, God, they brought dogs, everything. Everybody is searched. What? Oh, God, my son. For anybody to imply that I somehow knew that my son was in the basement, it's absurd and it's wrong. I love my son. I'm glad that he's home. Man, I thought my son was dead, man. Look.
Don't you acting.
Oh, my God.
You don't know that either?
Oh, my God. Wow.
This is that had to be cap, bro. If your son was downstairs in the basement, how would you have known? That's why people can't believe that, bro. It's too outlandish.
World's first AI-powered robotic vertical farm. It grows crops in 15 days using 95% less water than traditional farming. It's called AutoStore. Imagine a giant Rubik's Cube filled with plants. Dozens of autonomous robots move through this grid system 24/7, repositioning crops to get optimal light exposure and delivering precise amounts of water and nutrients to each plant. No soil, just hydroponics with complete water recycling. Everything is controlled by AI that monitors each plant and adjusts conditions in real time. The entire system is fully automated. No farmers, no weather dependency, no pesticides, just robots growing food in a climate-controlled environment that can fit inside a distribution center or even a retail store. Imagine walking into Costco or Walmart and the lettuce you're buying was grown in a vertical farm in the back of the store that morning. Maximum freshness, zero transportation costs, and because it's completely climate independent, you can put these anywhere. Deserts, Arctic regions, urban centers, doesn't matter. They're even designing this for Mars colonization. In 10 years, they want robotic vertical farms growing food on Mars using the same closed-loop system. When farms become controlled robots inside warehouses that can operate on other planets, traditional agriculture starts looking like the past.
Just released the full video of Jack Doherty getting arrested, and he completely deserved it. So Jack Doherty goes up to these 6 or 7 police officers and decides to antagonize them. They are in downtown Miami, and the cops are just making sure that nobody is getting into trouble outside of the club. When you see right here, a car is coming on, and the police tell Jack to get out of the middle of the road because he's obstructing traffic. Jack brushes this off and tells his cameraman to come over to him, and this is where it gets more worse. Jack Doherty decides to challenge these police officers to a duel, and all of the police officers are constantly giving him warnings to get out of the middle of the road. Now this is where things get even more worse for Jack. They have had enough. They keep telling Jack just to go back to the sidewalk on the other side of the street.
I didn't tell you again. Go to someone.
But it's Jack, Jack's security guard, and Jack's cameraman just bothering these police officers. Even Jack's cameraman says, like, bro, let's just get out of the street. Police officers have decided that they have had enough of this dude. So Jack initiated this, and he got arrested on 3 separate counts, 2 for possession, 1 for resisting an officer. And what's even more sadder is that Jack probably wanted to get arrested. For all of that, did Jack Doherty deserve to be thrown in jail?
What do you guys think, man? I've seen people on the internet being crazy, but that's actually insane, bro. The warners are giving him the freaking chance. The officers, were giving him the chance to go back onto the sidewalk, and I guess he just refused.
Hasn't put me in this box, and I feel nervous and excited.
Oh, right. So this is the human brain with the spinal cord. Such a masterpiece. But what people don't know is that we have 4 different structured parts of our brain that automatically shape how we think, feel, and behave. But what if it's not unconscious? What if we could pick and choose when how we want to be in any moment on purpose? Like we can manifest our own mental health.
And by the end of this conversation today, you're going to teach me how to do that.
Absolutely. You're going to so get it. But we have a problem. We are skewed as a society to the 2 parts of the left brain, which focuses on me, the individual. How do I fit myself into a society? And trauma is living in there, as is cravings and addiction. And we need this. It protects us. But we get in trouble when this is the only portion of our brain that we value, because look at the world we currently live in.
So is there a strategy for making sure that you don't act upon it?
Well, so many people are trying to get rid of their emotional reactivity, but the way to heal it is not to get rid of it. We're wired for this. Why do I want to just put myself in a little box and say, I don't want to have pain, I don't want to be mad, I want to be a robot, I don't want to be a robot, I want to be a whole human with a whole brain. Like, this is life. And it lasts this long and then it's gone. And it took me losing the left side of my brain for 8 years to realize just how precious this thing is.
So how do I control and protect my brain at all costs?
Well, there's a lot. So you ready? I want some hot stuff.
So, you know those Walmart brands like Great Value and then the regular brands, right? Here's a theory that might shock you. So, they have Cool Whip, then just the normal whipped cream. I bet you didn't know it's all made by the same company. Great Value gets it made cheaper without the branding. The same goes for canned vegetables. The big name brand is Green Giant, and the Great Value ones are also made by Green Giant. It's the same with cereal. There's this store called Aldi, known for having the best products that match up to the big name brands. Aldi has a brand called Millville, and their cereals are replicas of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cookie Crisps, and Rice Krispies. They look so similar because Millville is the same thing as General Mills. It's the exact same cereal. They even taste the same. So you're basically getting the same stuff for less money. That
is insane.
Y'all, this flood that just took place in Mexico for the past couple of days is a lot more severe than the media is leading up. Matter of fact, the media is not even speaking up about this. I feel like this is another Hurricane Helene incident. Remember the incident that happened with Hurricane Helene in Asheville, North Carolina? This is literally another. Look at this, y'all. It's another incident. And once again, the media is silent. Do you guys know it's been 12,600 people that are unalived in this situation, and 32,000 people are missing? I bet you guys didn't know that. You guys didn't hear about that. Look at the destruction that this flood has caused all over Mexico. This is my goodness. And the crazy thing about it is, there's a lot of destruction happening all over the planet, and the media is silent. The infrastructure of Mexico is completely ruined.
12,600 dead so far, 32,400 missing in Mexico. The storms, the hurricane, the flooding, a lot of displaced families, a lot of people missing, 32,400, and confirmed deaths, 12,600.
There's a lot of cataclysms that's taking place around the planet that the media is completely silent on. It first started with Asheville, North Carolina, and it's a continuing thing. It's an ongoing thing. They're not speaking up about a lot of these things, but yet they want to talk about No King's Day and the government shutdown and all that. What about these lives lost? 12,000 people, yo? And the fact of the matter is, they still haven't confirmed how many people were confirmed dead in the North Carolina Asheville incident. I believe this is a new norm, y'all. I truly believe this is a new norm. I've been telling y'all the shit is here, man. This is crazy. Let me know what you guys think about this video, y'all. Let's continue to get.
Worked at Harvard, stole people's heads, brains, and skin from cadavers and sold them in the black market. 57-year-old Cedric Lodge was a Harvard Medical School morgue manager and just pleaded guilty to stealing and selling body parts from cadavers. He worked at Harvard for 30 years and ran a program where people donate their body parts for science, and it wasn't until recently that they found out he was stealing body parts. From 2018 to 2020, he secretly removed organs, brains, skin, hands, faces, and dissected heads after the bodies were used for research. Instead of disposing of the bodies, he took them home to New Hampshire. His wife was also in on this, and they sold the remains to buyers in different states. And they made good money doing this, apparently tens of thousands of dollars. Cedric pleaded guilty this week and faces up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. Harvard did fire him in 2023 and called his actions a morally reprehensible betrayal. The school also insists that he did act alone and that no other Harvard employee was involved. But get this, some human remains were also found being sold on Facebook Marketplace.
Life hacks.
Do you guys believe the corruption just stopped there, or there could possibly be more to that story, Seekers? I don't know. That sounds like a freaking deep rabbit hole we might have to go down. His wife is in on it too, so who's to say some other people weren't in on it? You never know.
That everyone needs to know part 2. To remove a tight ring that's stuck on your finger, all you have to do is grab a string and tuck it under the ring. And then grab that same string and wrap it around your finger, and from there all you have to do is grab the other side and start pulling. The ring will magically remove itself. All you have to do to remove tape paper without ripping it is to hold the tape from both ends and start pulling really hard, which will then cause the tape to get removed super easily. If your house key broke in the lock for some reason, just get yourself a hot glue stick and place it inside the lock just like this, and just wait for it to dry a little bit and pull it really hard, and there you have it, your key is out.
Wow.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. The Voynich manuscript is an ancient book full of symbols and drawings that no one can translate till this day. Dracula was based on a real person. Vlad Dracula, a Romanian ruler that very much enjoyed watching people bleed to death. In 1963, the Bronx Zoo had an exhibition called The Most Dangerous Animal in the World. It was a mirror. 2 fishermen used their dead friend's ashes as fishing bait, and they caught the world's biggest carp. These are how Halloween costumes looked like in the 30s. If Earth stopped spinning for 1 second, everything and everyone will die instantly. A new homeowner found an old doll boarded up in his wall holding a note saying she killed a family in this house. This house is named the John Lawson House, and nobody knows who lives here. Every day, this porch is occupied by a number of female mannequins. The number of mannequins the positions they're in, and the clothes they wear are changed every day, and no one knows who is doing this and why. Like for part 18.
Stay away from that house, man. John Lawson's house, noted.
Scary facts that will make your skin crawl. BT Point 6. Phobias are based on how we died in our past life. Maybe that's why we're afraid to do things we never tried, because it's how we died. Experts said that dark areas, such as abandoned houses and vacant rooms, are the possible places where you can feel the presence of ghosts. So if you're alone right now while reading this post, there is a chance that someone is watching you. If you're awake at night without a reason, then it means that you are awake in someone else's dreams.
Really? Interesting. Something standing out.
Scary fun facts until the Orbeez overflow. There are microscopic mites that live in your eyelashes. Being buried alive happens so often on accident that they've now invented safety coffins. In the 1800s, dentures were made with real teeth from the deceased. Radio station UVB76 has been broadcasting since 1982. All it does is make creepy noises and nobody knows where it's broadcasting from. Chainsaws were originally invented for childbirth. The final part of Mount Everest that you have to climb is known as Rainbow Valley. They call it that because all you see is all the different colored jackets from the frozen hikers. And it looks like I'm out of time. Follow for more fun facts.
Wow, okay.
Disturbing facts that may ruin your day. You are the oldest that you have ever been and the youngest that you will ever be. Your bed absorbs 26 gallons of your sweat every year. There are 15 dead people for every one person alive. Science can't measure exactly how strong a gorilla is, so there's no sure way on how to contain them. The gorilla enclosures at zoos are just based on trust. Every 18 minutes, someone in the United States has a brain aneurysm that ruptures. Vampire moths are real and can feed on the blood of humans. A jar of peanut butter contains 10 or more rodent hairs and can contain up to hundreds of insect fragments. Big Bird almost joined NASA's Challenger mission to help kids become more interested in space. Millions of kids would have watched Big Bird and the Challenger space shuttle explode on live television. Follow for more.
Scary facts that will give you nightmares, part 5. First up, did you know that pigs can eat literally anything, including humans? One thing a lot of people don't know about pigs is that there have been many records of farmers dying because their pigs ate them. This is usually because while tending to the pigs, the farmers will run into an accident like falling or something, and then the pigs will feast on their body. Next up, have you ever heard of fatal familial insomnia? Well, it's a rare genetic disease that can be inherited and makes it impossible for someone to sleep for months. Since this type of insomnia can last for so long, it can leave someone so exhausted that they develop high blood pressure, weight loss, severe exhaustion, and then death. And lastly, did you know that trees can grow inside of your lungs? In Russia, doctors were performing surgery on a man because they thought he had lung cancer, but instead of a tumor, they found a 5-centimeter tree branch in his lungs. They later found out that he swallowed a fir bud, which then grew into a tree branch.
We made dire bees almost 70 years ago, and we have not stopped paying for it. In the 1950s, folks flew in African honeybees to Brazil because they figured they could breed them with European honeybees in the hopes of making a hybrid better bee, one that was more productive than Euro bees and less on-site than Afro bees, because Afro bees are black Air Force tier of trouble. Brazilian beekeepers used excluder screens to keep the African queens from getting out. Problem is, they did not tell the new guys. Someone saw the screen screening, and was like, oh, we can't have that, and removed the screen, sending 26 African queens and swarms of Euro bees into Brazil, which quickly led to Africanized honeybees, or more known as killer bees. You see, generational trauma then made these African bees that much more trigger happy. Normally, a European queen bee will usually send out 20 to 30 attack bees at once. African honey queens unload half the whole clip, sending thousands, sometimes 30,000 attack bees at once. Not only that, but they chase people further than Euro bees and sting 10 times as much, with cases of people being tailgated by an angry swarm for a quarter of a mile. There's even stories of swarms waiting directly above a body of water so that the moment the runner comes up for air, all he gets is smoke. Over 1,000 people have been turned past tents by an air force of spite flies. And after being released in Brazil in '57, they hit America in the '90s like Will Smith and left their mark like the Fresh Prince left on Chris. And to add insult, they also somehow nerfed the honey industry, so nature really slapped us for cutting corners. And today, Africanized honeybees are like a rash infecting the U.S. Southwest. Moral of the story, be better or be turned into letters, 3 in particular, the more you know.
The strangest places in the world, part 1. Firstly, on top of a hill in Pennsylvania, some stones can be found that shouldn't actually be there, because there's no nearby high terrain where they could have originated. These are called the ringing rocks, because whenever something hits these stones, they make a strange ringing noise.
Weird.
Next is the Petrifying Well in England, where water flows from a rock and turns whatever it touches into stone. As you can see, people often leave items like hats, teddy bears, or even bicycles, which appear to have already been turned into stone. Some people believe there's a mystical power, but the scientific reason behind this is the unusually high mineral content in the water, which forms a hard mineral shell on any object it comes into contact with. And within a few months, everything essentially becomes a stone statue.
Stone water.
The parents of 20-year-old Sudishka Konaki believe that their daughter drowned in the ocean in the Dominican Republic and are pushing authorities to declare her deceased. Sudishka's parents also said that they don't believe Joshua Wright, who was the last person seen with their daughter before she went missing, to be involved in her death. Joshua also testified that Sudishka's parents hugged and thanked him for trying to save their daughter's life. Now, authorities were really surprised that Sudishka's parents asked to declare their daughter deceased after only 12 days of her going missing, when usually investigations go on for months before they stop looking for someone. But I don't know, in this case, it seems like their parents are genuinely convinced that Joshua didn't do anything to hurt their daughter, and I guess after seeing all the surveillance footage of both of them together before she went missing, the only other possibility is that she drowned in the ocean. This is the last time Sudishka and Joshua were seen together at the resort, and a lot of people have speculated that perhaps Sudishka was abducted on the beach after Joshua fell asleep, because remember, they were both really intoxicated. But I don't know, that seems very unlikely, especially at a resort in the Dominican Republic where, for the most part, it's pretty safe.
Animal group names that should be illegal for how happy they make me for free. A group of ferrets is called a business, which means I can finally show this picture without being out of context. And if that sounds too professional, just remember this first Slinky's Latin name means stinky weasel thief. A group of vultures is called a wake, but only when they're eating. When they're flying, they're called a kettle. A group of porcupines is a prickle. A prickle of porcupines, which also describes how they mate. A plurality of platypus is a paddle. Several sloths are a snuggle. A group of baboons in one place is a congress. No comment. A group of crows is scientifically referred to as a murder. Did you know crows will investigate the cause of death when a member of their murder croaks? Will also seemingly mourn the dead and grieve the loss of their... Oh, never mind. A group of ravens is an unkindness, and for the record, if you want to know the difference, if you're wondering if it's a crow or raven, it's a crow. And if you're wondering what in the Edgar Allan Nevermore looking... It's probably a raven. Unkindness comes from the idea that ravens are deadbeat parents that often evict their chicks before they're even ready. They're also called a conspiracy. You know what else is a conspiracy? A lot of lemurs. This entire scene is a conspiracy, and the biggest one is that ring-tailed lemurs are female-dominated, so King Julian is actually a queen and a Julia. A group of parrots is a pandemonium, and once upon a time, a parrot was kicked out of a former president's funeral because he kept swearing through the service, so yeah, pandemonium. And lastly, a group of alpacas is a herd. But an alpaca giving birth is called an unpacking. Send it back.
Another cold case has been solved thanks to DNA. On December 23, 1983, 24-year-old Ronald Lee Novak was found dead in his home in rural Walker, Iowa. He was found by a friend with his hands tied behind his back in an unheated room in his apartment in the dead of winter in Iowa. He had been beaten and shot, but it was determined that his cause of death was a combination of his injuries, shock, and hypothermia. Investigators believed he was killed in a robbery or burglary gone wrong, but they had no suspects, and unfortunately, his case went cold. But over the last decade, DNA from Ronald's case was being tested, including DNA from his clothing and from a hammer found in his home believed to be used in the attack. Genetic genealogy allowed investigators to narrow the DNA down to 3 brothers, and then further DNA testing revealed that it was likely that 64-year-old Michael Schappert, who now lives in Fairview, Oregon, was the likely killer. The investigation revealed that Schappert, quote, likely went to Novak's home with the intent to rob him of money and marijuana. And now, more than 40 years after Ronald Novak's murder, he has been arrested. Schappert was arrested in Oregon and is being held there pending extradition to Iowa, and he is facing first-degree murder charges. The case is not completely closed, though, because it is believed that at least one more suspect was involved in Ronald's murder. Lynn County Sheriff Brian Gardner said, quote, "By naming a suspect, it may cause other people to now come forward that maybe weren't willing to do so previously, or maybe this has jogged their memory some 41 years later." Ronald's sister said after the arrest that the investigation has been a long ride for the family, and she didn't know if she would ever see this day come. She said, quote, "You start to give up hope that there will be an answer. I wanted it so bad. We look forward to the trial." At least now Ronald's family has answers, and hopefully he will soon be getting the justice he deserves. Rest in peace, Ronald.
These are some...
Rest in peace. Justice will come to you sooner or later.
If you could rack your brain right now to ask yourself what is the most disturbing Disney Channel original movie, which one would you pick? If you chose Don't Look Under the Bed, you're correct, because the movie actually almost never even made it to television. Any of the sequences that did eventually make the cut were considered so disturbing, this is actually one of the only Disney Channel original movies that has a TVPG rating. Anne Sweeney, who was the president of Disney Channel at the time, as well as countless other executives, had a lot of issues with this film. And even to this day, there are still some sequences, some scenes that have never seen the light of day. They were not going to be included in the movie. And I think in part, the credit should go to the director, who was really trying to creatively push the boundaries of what could be included in children's horror. Even just beyond the disturbing imagery, they explored some pretty dark themes in a children's movie, starting to play with psychological horror when Frances can see things that everybody else thinks she's crazy for. In 2006, Disney Channel had to pull it from the October catalog. It will not be on Disney Channel again.
YouTubers who became murderers, part 1. This was the YouTuber Elliot Rogers' last video.
Tomorrow is the day of retribution. The day in which I will have my revenge against humanity, against all of you.
This was called the Day of Retribution. The son of a Hollywood filmmaker killed 6 people. Roger left the car and saw students across the street. He shot at them, taking the life of Veronica Weiss and Catherine Cooper. The suspect proceeded on foot and fired several rounds into the deli. One of the bullets struck and took the life of a student named Christopher Martinez. Then he drove down the left side of the road so he could fire at 2 pedestrians. Police then came running across the park, and Roger fired at them as he drove. But he was struck in the left hip. After he hit a cyclist, he crashed his car into the back of an SUV.
This guy in Brazil would dress up as Batman with a red hood. He even had his own homemade weapons like the Batarang and everything. He would break into suspected criminals' homes and just beat them senseless. This is as close to lore-accurate Batman as we might get. His name is Rodrigo Rodrigues da Silva. He was also known as the Punisher of Paranaíba in Brazil. He was arrested back in 2023. When he broke in, he had like bladed gauntlets, like the Batarang, a utility belt full of different weapons and stuff. He also told police he had intentions to use all of his weapons on the person's home that he broke into. In Brazil, homicides are very, very prevalent in the country. He got kind of sick of all these criminals getting away with it, so he decided to take justice into his own hands. I forgot one more thing. He also had a submachine gun on him. It's not pictured here, but crazy. And mind you, these are suspected criminals, so maybe some of these aren't confirmed criminals, but it's just crazy to think about, Batman breaking into your home and just beating you senseless at night. And the work that he put in to make his suit and his weapons and everything, crazy stuff. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Her father...
You ever real life Batman, bro, in Brazil? How come that didn't make that in the news or something, man? That's my first time hearing it, bro. He real life tried to become Batman, bro. He had the weapons, the Batarangs, all that. That's freaking crazy to think about, man. We got a real life Batman before GTA 6.
Judith Eva Barcy was born on June 6 of 1978 in Los Angeles, California. Her parents, Joseph and Maria, were originally from Hungary and had met at a restaurant in California. From a very young age, Maria was fascinated with Hollywood and was determined to make her daughter famous. Judith was discovered while she was ice skating one day and was asked to come out in a commercial. From there, it was just the start of her career, and she came out in the movies All Dogs Go to Heaven and Land Before Time. Judith was very small for her age, and she even started taking hormone injections to make herself grow. Her success helped her family thrive, and she was making about $100,000 a year, and her parents used that to buy a 3-bedroom house in Los Angeles. Although Judith's career was thriving, something sinister was going to happen behind the scenes. Judith's father had drinking problems, and he was angry with his daughter's success. and had even gotten arrested 3 times for driving under the influence. Many of Maria's friends told her to leave her husband, but she refused because she was scared that she was going to lose the house, her belongings, and that he would unalive her somehow. On July 27th of 1988, around 8:30 a.m., the family's neighbor was watering her garden when she heard an explosion. That neighbor rushed to call 911 because she was afraid that Joseph had unalived his family. That neighbor was right because Joseph had shot Maria and Judith in the head and then poured gasoline everywhere. And Maria were buried together in Hollywood Hills, California, and Joseph is said to be in an unmarked grave.
This might be the most insane case of police cover-up I've ever seen in my entire life. Arrest has finally been made in the murder of Sandra Birchmore, who all of this started back in 2010 when Sandra was just 12 years old. She enrolls in the county's police youth program where her alleged killer, Officer Matthew Farwell, is an instructor. At some point, Officer Farwell, who's 27 years old, begins grooming Sandra, and by the time she's 15, they're having a full-on intimate relationship, if you know what I mean. When Sandra turns 18, she's obviously aged out of the program, but maintains a relationship with Officer Farwell, who is married with children. In October of 2020, Sandra tells Farwell that she wants a child, and he apparently agrees to get her pregnant in exchange for her silence about the statutory R word and extramarital affair. 2 months later, Sandra's pregnant, and after Farwell finds out, he becomes physically violent with Sandra. She told multiple friends that Farwell had pushed her, shoved her, and even placed her in a chokehold. In January the following year, someone called the police department and leaked this information. When the employee told Farwell about this phone call, he became visibly angry and told them to keep this information secret. Within days of that phone call, Farwell starts to allegedly plan Sandra's murder. All of a sudden, he wants a spare key to her apartment. 2 days after that, he starts canvassing her apartment, looking for places to carry out the murder. He inspected her bathroom closet, specifically places where items could be hung, and his behavior was strange enough that Sandra told multiple friends that she was concerned. A week later, on February 1st, Farwell enters Sandra's apartment wearing a face mask where police say he strangled her to death. And by the way, while Farwell was allegedly committing this murder, his wife was in the hospital giving birth. Family ended up hiring a private medical examiner who did rule it as a homicide. After years of a federal investigation and her family refusing to stay silent, Matthew Farwell has finally been indicted for her murder.
He is interested in blondes. I'm not blonde, I'm a brunette. So I'd go in the shower, take fingernail clippers, and just cut my hair off. Trying to do everything I can to get his attention again. I would have given anything to that man. I would have bought the sun, the moon, and the stars and gave it to him on a platter. And that hurts me that I loved him that much.
Why does it hurt you?
Because I feel like no one is ever gonna love him as much as I loved him at that time. And it makes me feel better knowing that he's truly sorry for hurting me. But it doesn't change anything. Like, I married Ryan. I have a marriage now. I'm wearing this wedding ring that belonged to Ryan's mom. Like, I have a commitment to my husband. And I want to keep that.
Talking about her ex.
But what's gonna happen when Ryan and I have an argument? Is that little thought in the back of my head gonna say, Ken is single?
Jeffrey Dahmer targeted this 14-year-old boy. The police found him naked, bleeding from his rectum and everything, and Jeffrey Dahmer convinced the police to return him. He told the police that was his boyfriend. They had an argument. Police returned him to Dahmer, and then he got mutilated that night and killed. His name was Konorak Sympthosophone. And like I said, he was found naked, drugged, and bleeding from his rectum on a street corner, and police returned him to Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, dude, if you're seeing blood on somebody, maybe investigate, ask some more questions. His death was also absolutely horrific. He had a hole drilled into his head, and then Jeffrey Dahmer poured acid inside of it to try to recreate a real-life zombie out of him. He was trying to melt the kid's brains out. I think if the kid acted out and got arrested by police, he would have had a better chance to live. This is just so crazy that you would see the kid in this condition and decide to return him to, like, the person that's claiming to be his boyfriend. Hell, even if it was his boyfriend, right? Just look at the situation he's in, dude. Just investigate more. There's obviously some sort of abuse going on here. But it is sickening how much Jeffrey Dahmer actually got away with. This is just one of his many sick and twisted ways that he killed people. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
People are just finding out about the 500-year-old girl who is coming back to life. Stick with me because you're in for a wild ride. as you can see here. I did a video on this a long time ago, but for some reason it's circulating round again right now, freaking people out online and on social media, so here we go. So this mummy right here is known as La Doncella, or the Children of the Lulacana. These different mummies here are all part of the same family, the Children of the Lulacanu, where this group of mummies were found preserved at the top of the Lulacano volcano. But just wait, because it's crazy. This is the Lulacano volcano, which they were found right at the summit of this. And as you can imagine, it's pretty high up and pretty damn cold. The first crazy part is that look how realistic she looks right now, and she's over 500 years old. But with all of these people being believed to have lived in the 14 and 1500s, and it's also believed they were and sacrificed when they were only around 13 years old, then buried and left at the top of this. Now where it gets even more interesting, of course, the archaeologists found these preserved bodies with all the body features and everything still being there after 500 years. Normally you'd be gone, mate. But this is how you might imagine someone who had passed away about 20-30 years ago at tops. But by far the craziest bit out of all of this, I know you're waiting for it, she's coming back to life. Essentially, what happened is the scientists who were doing the test when they got these preserved mummies obviously wanted to figure out how the hell is this possible. Of course, from being at the altitude and those sort of temperatures, it froze her body and her insides. So they found her organs perfectly intact, healthier than probably some of you, and even frozen blood still in her body and in her veins. So she was basically the first person to get cryogenically frozen. Now, no, she's not necessarily coming back to life, just going to get up and start walking again. All of these mummies are now in a museum. But the point of what people have been saying is she could technically come back to life. I actually saw a few scientists have said that it could potentially be possible, but it's not exactly going to be the easiest thing in the world, so I highly doubt it.
And they said her organs intact. Blood and stuff still circulating. Certainly a chance, but like I said, I don't know. Mummies? This shit getting crazy, bro.
Correct! If someone is trying to make you decide in a hurry, they are probably giving you a bad deal. Walk away. If someone has a panic attack, start breathing regularly and loudly. The person that is panicking will subconsciously start breathing in rhythm with you. When a group of people laugh, they tend to look at the person they like the most. Nervousness and excitement have the same body reaction, so if you're nervous for a speech, trick yourself into thinking you're actually excited. If you think someone is watching you, fake a yawn, then watch them. Get someone to contribute to an idea and they will more likely accept it. If you whisper to someone, it's more likely they will whisper back even if there's no good reason to lower your voice. If you want to make someone feel uncomfortable, look at their forehead while you're talking to them. If you want somebody to open up to you, ask them a question. If the person only partially answers it, remain silent and keep eye contact. This will pressure the person into talking more. If you want to be more persuasive, reduce the use of the words I think and I believe. Okay. Touching someone on their shoulder or on their knee creates a stronger emotional bond with that person. Chew gum if you are still nervous. Our brains assume that if we are eating, then we are not in any immediate danger, lowering our fight or flight response. When you approach a group of people, notice if they turn their feet towards you or away from you. If their feet point away from you, you are probably not welcome. Subtly nodding when people are talking to you indicates that you are genuinely interested in what they are having to say and they're going to like you more. If you take a moment to look at someone's eye color when meeting them, you'll be giving them the perfect amount of eye contact. If there is a mirror behind where you are ordering, you are less likely to be rude because nobody wants to see themselves actually be rude. If you buy the first pitcher at the bar with your friends, you'd be surprised how far you could go by saying, I bought the first one. If someone is making jokes at your expense, act like you can't hear them and ask them to repeat it multiple times. By the time they say it a third or fourth time, nobody's laughing. When someone remembers you, they are most likely going to remember the first memory and the last memory of you. So make sure you always leave a good last impression too. After you have learned how to do something new and have done it yourself, the fastest way to retain that information is to teach somebody else. If you have a song stuck in your head and you can't get it out, try and listen to the whole song all the way through while singing it. Your brain is treating the song like an unfinished task in your subconscious. Plan something for every Wednesday that you can look forward to. You'll start to look forward to it on Monday, and by the time Wednesday comes around, you're already halfway through the week and almost to the weekend.
Wow.
If you ask someone to do a small favor for you, their subconscious mind is going to register that they like you because they're doing a favor for you. Showing the palms of your hands while talking to someone subconsciously communicates that you have nothing to hide and that you can be trusted. Whenever you're introducing a new idea to someone and you lead with the words, "This might not be for you, but," it intrigues their interest and makes it feel like it probably is for them. If you need to remember to do something tomorrow, put something in your room out of place. If you don't want to get out of bed, throw your pillow across the room. The next day, you will see this item out of place and it will jog your memory of what you need to accomplish. If you're procrastinating, just stop telling yourself how much work you have to do. This will overwhelm you. Instead, tell yourself you only have to work for 5-10 minutes, and then you're likely going to continue working past those minutes. People who are lying will normally blink more than normal, hide the palms of their hands, glance up to the right, mess with their hair, or use abnormally long sentences. If you're trying to get over a breakup, do not use fictional scenarios. Imagining your person with someone new is only going to make you more angry and sad about something that's not even real. If you want to create a deeper connection with someone you're interested in, ask them these two questions. What do you think we have in common? And what do you like most about me? If you are suffering from racing thoughts, use the 3-3-3 rule. Name 3 things you see, 3 things you hear, and 3 parts of your body. This will help center your mind and bring you back to the present. When someone apologizes for something that you don't feel like was that big of a deal to apologize for, they're probably telling you subconsciously what actually bothers them if it was done to them. If they apologize for interrupting you, they probably really just don't like being interrupted themselves. Follow for more psychology hacks.
Prison time after stabbing her boyfriend 108 times. In 2018, 26-year-old Chad O'Melia's life was savagely taken in his apartment in California by his girlfriend. 33-year-old Bryn Spetcher says that on this day, she was tricked by Chad into smoking a highly potent strain of marijuana, which caused her to go into psychosis. She says that she remembers immediately walking into the kitchen and grabbing several knives and stabbed her dog before going after Chad and taking his life. Authorities also said that it wasn't easy restraining Bryn and that the taser didn't even work on her. Now, Bryn's defense argues that she reacted this way because she only smoked less than 6 times in her life, which that combined with the high potent marijuana explains why she took her boyfriend's life. Bryn ended up only receiving just 2 years of probation, 100 hours of community service, and no prison time.
Wow. Okay, look at look. The hell is a Charminus?
An orangutan was kept in a brothel, dressed up, and forced to live like a human. Pony was taken from the wild as a baby in Borneo after her mother disappeared. Instead of freedom, they trapped her in a place where she was treated like a possession, but not kindly. They kept her in a brothel made to wear clothes and makeup and forced her to be around people all day long. Really sad and disgusting part is this wasn't a secret, this wasn't hidden. Many people in the village knew what was happening. In fact, when a team arrived to rescue her, they faced resistance. Some locals did not want Pony to leave. It took a huge effort from a lot of people to be able to bring her to safety. So sad. Like, after the rescue, Pony was deeply traumatized. She even forgot how to behave like an orangutan and had to relearn basic skills like eating natural food or climbing trees. Pony's story really shows us why protecting wild animals in their home is so important. This is not the only story like this, as crazy as that is. Without this kind of protection, animals can suffer in ways that people could never even imagine. What do you think should be done to help animals like Pony? Follow for more.
Moral of the story,
What do you think?
Don't sleep on the first floor. In 2014, a young woman woke up to strange noises coming from under her bed. When she finally worked up the courage to look, there was nothing there. The next morning when she got up, there were footprints leading right up to the sliding door that went right into her room. She instantly calls her dad, who comes over and traces the footsteps back to a house of a very troubled teen who admitted to spying on her. But he swore up and down he hadn't done that in weeks. They don't believe him, and they threaten to call the police if they ever see him on the property again. That night, the girl's on her phone in bed when she starts to hear the strange sounds again.
There's breathing, bro. Oh, hell no. I've been to Jets, I'm gone.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 18. A man from Queens once spent 5 months in jail completely unaware that his bail was just $2. Since spiders molt, when you see what you might think is a dead spider, it could just be that the spider left behind its exoskeleton and is now bigger than before. Almost everyone on Earth is walking around with a bunch of poop inside of them. Scientists accidentally killed the world's oldest living animal, which was a clam that lived to be 507 years old. Statistically speaking, at least one person who comments on this video will not be alive tomorrow. The real reason you shouldn't eat raw cookie dough isn't because of getting sick from eating raw eggs. It's because you shouldn't eat raw flour, which contains fecal matter from all the birds flying over the field and pooping on the wheat.
Okay. Well, I never ate raw flour before. Don't plan to do that. Where he at? I feel like something washing him, bro. I like his vibe.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. Horror movies use tracks that include infrasounds. They cannot be heard by human ears, but they are known to induce anxiety and heart palpitations. 44% of the information shared on worldwide news is inaccurate. To date, the U.S. lost 6 nuclear bombs and never recovered them. According to paranormal experts, when you have a nightmare, real spirits or demons are trying to contact you, but your body rejects them and wakes you up for safety. In 1954, a man arrived at an airport and had a passport issued by the country of Tory, which does not exist. Police locked him in a high-secure room and he vanished. There are computers for the Amish, which have no internet, videos, or music. There are organizations that manipulate the stock market. Spending just a few months in Antarctica can shrink your brain. There's a lot more, like for part 7.
How? It's too cold there, bro.
This is the first picture the world has ever seen where Putin, Xi Jinping, and Kim Jong-un are all together. And the significance of this gathering cannot be understated. Today, we witnessed China put on the largest military parade in their history. All major roads were closed, schools were shut down, and they even had weeks of midnight rehearsals and security preparations to make sure that today went off without a hitch. One by one, world leaders started arriving, most of which are the names that you would expect, like Kim, Putin, etc. In fact, for good old Kim, it took him 20 hours just to get to China, because he got there on his infamous slow armored bulletproof train, traveling between only 45 and 80 kilometers an hour. However, also attending were world leaders that in the past few decades, they lent more to the West, like Turkey, Egypt, and Vietnam. In fact, no Western leaders attended, apart from 2. We're looking at you, Serbia and Slovakia. And when Donald Trump saw that Putin, Kim, and Xi were having a 2.5-hour private closed-door meeting, he tweeted this: "May President Xi and the wonderful people of China have a great lasting day of celebration. Please give my warmest regards to Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States." Now, it wasn't just what they spoke about that will be of concern of Western leaders watching. It'll also be the new weapons that China unveiled. These included new powerful laser weapons capable of taking out swarms of drones, burning electronics, or even blinding pilots, new nuclear ballistic missiles with a range capable of striking U.S. mainland, giant underwater unmanned drones, and also a number of weapons which display China's heavy investment in the future of warfare, including drones, smart tanks, AI-assisted weaponry, and of course, even robot dogs. In fact, today on Chinese social media, all of the top searches were about the parade and its weapons, including the 4th one talking about their new ICBMs having the striking range that covers the entire world. But for Xi Jinping, what means more than showing off new weaponry is showing off a new world order, one that challenges the West and its allies, but also one where China is positioned right in the center. In fact, in Xi's speech overlooking the military parade, he said the rise of the Chinese nation is unstoppable. Strength may prevail for a time, but over the long arc of history, it's reason that wins. So the question is Donald Trump's foreign policy pushing these countries together to strengthen their relations, or was what we saw today inevitable and would have happened no matter who was in office?
We have some crazy
Thoughts
things
down
going
below.
on. The Telegram founder says that he has fathered more than 100 children. A Mississippi man spent 940 days in jail waiting for a trial that never came. The Swiss government has now forbidden the use of donkeys to protect against wolf attacks. What happened there? A woman came out and said that she went blind after doing 13 cartwheels in a row. A Turkish town was accidentally hotboxed after police burned 20 tons of weed. A 9-year-old boy lived alone for 2 years after being abandoned by his mother, surviving on scraps from neighbors without any hot water or heating while still attending school and excelling academically. The demand for Ozempic is so high that it has boosted Denmark's entire economy, and in Sweden they were forced to put a footnote on their quarterly GDP report because Taylor Swift caused such a huge spike in their growth. A teenager left her shoe at a Danish prince's birthday party, hoping for a Cinderella-like effect. And it worked because the palace posted a picture of her shoe on Instagram with a caption asking if it was Cinderella. It said Cinderella. Cinderella, send. 75% of all Americans now prioritize finances over love when finding a partner to marry.
And this is why you
Says
should
about that
never
coin.
kiss a baby on the lips.
This is a result of somebody kissing her on the mouth. When parents say not to kiss your children, this is one of the reasons.
This is a recent photo of 8-year-old Brie Lynn. She was born healthy, but as a baby, she was kissed on the lips by someone who had a cold sore, and her life changed forever. So after this happened, she began having seizures and became extremely sick. And since as a baby, your immune system is not developed, the HSV infection attacked her brain and left her with a severe brain injury. Her mother explains that the left side of her brain is 60% damaged and the right side is 10% damaged. And because of this, Brie Lynn has never been able to walk or talk, and doctors don't even know how long she'll live. There was actually another child in the past who had the same thing happen to them, and they only lived until the age of 7.
NASA doesn't want you to know that they don't
Crazy.
know about Cthulhu. Back on August 21st, they announced that there was going to be this mission called Operation Deep Cave. And what they told the public is that it was for research purposes, which was mainly true. But on day 5 of the investigation, they sent out ships with submarines because they thought they found something on the ocean floor. And these submarines were looking for the entrance to a very specific cave, which after a while they found. And I don't know if you can tell what I'm trying to say, but these caves were a little abnormally large, like they could be holding something. Like something very big could have been living in these caves for thousands of years without us realizing it. Now, one of the subs bumped into a wall in the cave and a bunch of rocks fell down, revealing like this whole other area of the cave that they didn't know was there. They heard a really loud bang and then it was silent for a while. There's footage, don't worry. And then what we found out this morning is they heard a roar and the cave began to shake. And some creature emerged from the deep. And this creature was about 150 feet tall. And this morning they released the documents and the footage and the rest of that story, and people believe that this is Cthulhu. Now I would show you the footage, but this is a creepypasta, so there is none. Send this to a friend to prank them, and hit the plus for more. It really helps when you interact.
She almost got me,
Has
bro.
been walking for 9 years. He's walking from Ethiopia to the tip of South America to retrace the path of early human migration. This guy is a journalist who has won 2 Pulitzer Prizes. He could be like sitting in a Manhattan apartment somewhere, and instead he's walking across basically the entire planet. He's already made it from Ethiopia to China
on foot. He's been walking for 9 years. Along the way, he's interviewing local folks from some of the most remote places in the world, unreachable by car. He does a really good job of centering local stories. He's not even shown in most of the footage. This video is not sponsored. I just think this is one of the coolest projects in the world that people don't really seem to know about. It's called the Out of Eden Walk. It falls under the umbrella of National Geographic, but does not have very many followers on social media or anything. Like, it doesn't seem to be that well known, which is crazy because it's like one of the coolest things anyone on the planet is doing right now. I don't know how long he's going to be doing this for. He probably has another 9 years. I don't know.
Would you walk for 9 years?
Babysitting always freaks me out. So in 2014, Sarah DeWalt was babysitting for a new family that had just moved into her neighborhood in Ohio. The family consisted of 2 young children under 10, but when Sarah showed up that night, the parents kept talking as if they had 3 children. There were 3 sets of pajamas laid out, there were 3 bowls of ice cream on the counter, but the family clearly only had the 2 kids. So that night, Sarah and the kids are winding down watching a movie when all of a sudden Sarah starts hearing noises in the house. There were footsteps shuffling like someone else was there, and she had this overwhelming feeling that she was being watched. So she gets up to check on the noise, but then the kids turn to her and say, "Oh, that's Bonnie, don't bother her." Sarah leaves it because she's freaked out, but then later that night she goes to check the nanny cam and she sees this image captured in the hallway. She stayed up until the parents came home, but she never went back after that.
Who's Bonnie, bro? Babysitting kids, man, you gotta be careful. It's raining and he's out there in the middle of the night just recording. I don't think so.
This is why you should always sleep with your lights on. In 1991, a man named Christopher Case was found dead in his bathtub, fully clothed in the fetal position. When police interviewed his best friend Sammy, she told them about a very disturbing phone call she got from him the night before he died. On the call, he told her that the previous night he had woken up to what sounded like whispering coming from underneath his bed. When he went to look, he couldn't move. As he laid helplessly, he watched a black figure pull itself out from underneath his bed. Once it was fully upright, it reached down and began choking him until he passed out. The next morning when he came to, he felt his neck and it was swollen and bruised. And then he saw blood on his hands and he saw that there were deep, uniform incisions on each of his fingertips. As he's saying all this to Sammy and telling her how scared he is to go to bed that night, he suddenly stops and he says, "I hear whispering outside my room." Then the phone went dead.
Truly disturbing image. A Mexican TikToker and her family were recently found wrapped in plastic and dumped in their pickup truck. Along with Esmeralda was her husband and 2 children, which were only 7 and 13 years old. In fact, this happened in the same state that TikToker Valeria Marquez was killed in just a few months ago. And the family's bodies were found on August the 22nd inside a van that had been abandoned at a mechanic's shop. Police arrested 3 men who were described as the managers of the mechanic shop, but they were later released due to insufficient evidence linking them to the crime. Local media report that those men were then kidnapped after leaving Jalisco's prosecutor's office. According to initial investigations, the attack was not directed at Esmeralda, but rather her husband.
Scary Things You Know Are Real, Episode 2. Have you ever just put in headphones and been listening to music very, very loud and thinking that you heard someone, or you heard someone call your name or a door shut? That was literally just a ghost letting you know that they're there. Pretty much like a "what's up, dude?" Pretty fucking creepy. Have you ever just been laying in bed and wondering why you hear that noise on your roof? Well, that's probably a ghost and you should be aware because he is coming. I don't know what he's coming for. Maybe he's coming to get some snacks or some shit. I really don't know, but please stay away. At least for me. Have you ever just been in the shower and thought that someone was watching you, even if it's through like the door or even the shower curtain? Trust me, you are not imagining it. Bathrooms are actually one of the #1 spots ghosts and demons actually hang out. I know it sounds stupid, but genuinely, that's like their home. That's like where they be at. I can't be the only person. Every single time I'm walking at night, I always feel like someone's watching me. You hit the nail on the head there, buddy. Someone is actually watching you. It is a ghost. Humans can actually feel the presence of a ghost. So that's why every time you're walking around at nighttime, if you're outside doing this and that, you always feel like someone's watching you. It's because there probably is someone, you just can't see them. You can only feel their presence. Drop a like and follow me on Instagram for more.
Ghost Stacks, okay, he's putting us on, bro.
Here's some crazy history you definitely did not learn in school. This is a picture of Grand Central Station in 1929. And apparently it's not possible to take a picture like this anymore because the entire station is surrounded by buildings. And obviously that would block the sun rays. If TikTok existed in the 1920s, this would have been a trend called horse manning, where you basically pretend that you're headless by having another person in the photo. I guess it was a playful way for friends to be creative. Cool. Let's not bring that back. OMG was first used in 1917. George Washington passed away with about $594 million in today's money of net worth. He was receiving a presidential salary of $25,000 or about $900,000 today. And apparently that was about 2% of the entire government's budget at the time. The old Danish criteria for common law marriage says that if you have a mistress that sleeps in your home for 3 winters and has a key, eats with you, sleeps with you, then you're married.
How all the rappers listened to Cross the Line, and we were all wrong about them. Even the biggest, most powerful names had to do something to go from regular stars to global icons. But let's get one thing straight. Nobody gets there with just talent and luck. And new rappers starting out, that's a whole different world. It's not like they drop a track and instantly lose their soul or something. In the beginning, it's a slow climb. They start buzzing. But at some point, they hit a wall. That point where you're no longer just an artist, you become a global brand. And it's usually right then that they make a critical choice behind the scenes, one nobody really notices. Travis Scott before Astroworld was already good, but after that album, whole different league. Playboi Carti, we don't even need to say much. The whole vibe around him is straight up dark, and he owns it. And when you actually listen to some of the lyrics, it's hard not to feel like they're coming from somewhere else entirely. Like it doesn't even sound like them anymore. Everyone here will have their own opinion and make their own judgment, but still, be careful what you're listening to, because sometimes it's not just music.
We'd be putting the music to distract us.
About women that are actually pretty crazy. Part 5. Taller women are more likely to have cancer, whereas shorter women are more likely to have smaller babies. I don't think that's a fair trade, but it's not my doings. In Greece, throwing an apple at a woman was considered a marriage proposal. Now, if anyone did that in America, and they threw an apple at the woman they were trying to propose to, she would definitely walk up to him and calmly go, "Yo, why'd you throw that apple at me? That ain't cool. Now I'm gonna have to beat you, bruh." 80% of women will ask questions that they already know the answers to, and the reason being is they're not trying to interrogate us, they're just trying to see if we're listening and if we actually care about what they're saying. So, just pay attention, guys. A lot of women lose 2 to 3 hours of sleep every night due to overthinking, anxiety, worry, whatever that may look like. And I'm not saying guys don't do this too, but women are linked to having less serotonin, which helps them go to sleep. So women, if you're still up, get on the Xbox, play some COD, and smack some noobs for us.
Right.
Creepy facts will give you nightmares. Let's go. If someone murders you, there's a 1 in 3 chance that your killer will never be found. Scientifically speaking, trees could grow inside of our lungs. There are over 200 dead bodies on Mount Everest, and no one retrieves them because they serve as landmarks for the other hikers. If you die inside your home, your cat is going to want to eat you. The reason dogs like squeaky toys so much is because the squeak mimics the sound of their prey. And finally, tarantulas can swim. Ugh.
What the heck? It can? That's nightmare for me.
Beyonce, you're done. They gotta constantly praise Beyonce, because behind the scenes, she's way up there in the shadow hierarchy. Yeah, you heard that right. That dark side's slowly getting known by the public. It's actually real important that everyone knows, so share this video. If you've been paying attention, every year at the Grammys, some star praises Beyonce. This year, it was Miley Cyrus.
The Grammy goes to... Even if it's not you, Beyonce, I might just say this.
They gotta do it to remind the world she's above all the other stars, that she's the supreme star. That's what it means to be the supreme star. That's why she's been running the music game for so long. In that secret, well-structured hierarchy that Beyonce, Kim K, and plenty of other stars seem to belong to, Beyonce's got a special spot. She used her natural talent to grab the chance of a lifetime, which helped her reach that level of influence. Most people don't realize, but it must have taken her a long time to become the top goddess of their industry. And that's not even mentioning Jay-Z, who plays a big role in all of this. Let me know if you want to hear what happens when someone disrespects the hierarchy. I'll drop part 2.
Well, you know Beyonce's up there when it comes to the music industry, but yeah, I think she actually did something behind the scenes to get that spot. It could just be her natural talent. Same. 2025, we still here, bro. So they was wrong.
This doll is 10 times more haunted and cursed than the Annabelle doll, and I don't know why nobody's talking about it. We all know the Annabelle doll as being one of the poster child of the Conjuring universe, on top of being one of the most haunted, if not the most haunted doll in the women's collection. Until I stumbled upon this photo of the Shadow doll, also owned in Anne Marie Warren's collection. This doll is said to be made of human bones and nails, constructed during a ritual. And it said that this doll's main purpose of construction was to curse you, infiltrating your dreams, and could even stop your heart. Word for word from Anne Marie Warren. Now look, do I think this doll can actually curse you through the photo? I have not gone to sleep yet, so I don't know. But I would venture to say that's not true. I would say maybe if you saw it in person, decided to take a picture, or talk to the doll in person, maybe you would be cursed. But through the picture, that's not going to happen. If the main idea of constructing this doll was to curse people, seeing it in person would definitely do something to you. Because we've heard the stories of people who decided to go and see the Annabelle doll, then gotten into absolutely terrible car accidents, almost losing their lives. Now I'm just saying, Annabelle is cool. Annabelle is a very cool story, and the poster child of the Conjuring universe. Why have we never had a movie based on the Shadow doll? This doll was made to curse people, and it was made to look scary. I don't know, that's just me.
I don't know if I can visit Mexico.
Why?
Bro, they have the scariest urban legends.
For real?
Yeah, they got La La Chuza, which is a shape-shifting witch that looks like an owl and is 7 feet tall with the face of a woman. And you're not supposed to go outside if you hear whistling in your window.
What else?
Oh, La Llorona. She usually stays near bodies of water. She wears a white gown, long hair, and she's always crying for her children that she actually drowned. So you're next if you see her while driving on the side of the road.
Oh my god.
It's like this abandoned Disney park in Veracruz, Mexico.
What about it?
It has a statue that moves at night. There was 2 people exploring the abandoned park and caught it on video. Fam, you gotta check this out.
No, aguanta, deja
Oh, he's
que
locked
mi cámara
in.
enfoque bien, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien. Deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, güey, eso no es celular. No digas perras mamadas. No digas mamadas. Güey, es que era vestido también así, güey. Amarillo.
And it's static, frozen. I'm good. I'm good on Mexico.
But they do have beautiful women.
You right. We might have to risk it.
Yeah, I'm taking that risk, bro.
This is why you should never explore abandoned buildings. In 2013, 3 boys named Paul, Tim, and Max all lived in Louisiana. There were tons of abandoned houses in their neighborhood left over from Hurricane Katrina, and the boys all loved to explore them. One day, Paul asked his 2 friends to explore an abandoned hospital a few miles out of town. They agreed, and the 3 boys set off. They explored every floor of the hospital except for the basement. But upon walking down to the basement, they discovered that it was flooded with over 4 feet of water. They walked down the stairs and shined their lights on the murky water. It took them to the middle of a hallway, but they couldn't see down either side. Paul thought it would be a good idea to wade down the flooded hallway. His friends stayed back when all of a sudden there was a huge splash. Paul shined his flashlight down the basement and saw a huge creature swimming towards him. His friends began to scream at him, and Paul ran back to the staircase. The 3 boys escaped the hospital and went home to never return. They believe they heard an alligator, but will never be sure.
I think it was.
What is going on with all these celebrities and their appearances? Did they all sell their souls or what? Let's talk about the most shocking case. Look at Miley Cyrus. The photos you're seeing now weren't taken that far apart. Normally, we all age naturally. That's just how life goes. But even if her aging process was sped up somehow, this kind of change isn't normal. How the hell can someone's appearance change this much in just a month or 2? Something's off. She's hiding something. Look at the photo. This is her just a month later. What the hell happened to Miley Cyrus? Seriously? As far as we know, she didn't get any plastic surgery. Look around her eyes. It's like they're sinking in. That kind of thing doesn't just happen on its own. She went from this to whatever this weird version is. And it's the same exact thing with Demi Lovato. She went from that version of herself to this. That's literally night and day. Come on, tell me you all see the difference. This isn't just some small change. It's a huge transformation. She didn't just lose weight or switch up her makeup. Her whole face and body look different. It straight up looks like 2 completely different people. I need y'all to tell me what you think in the comments. Am I losing my mind, or is there seriously something wrong going on? Miley Cyrus, Ice Spice, who's the next victim? Whoever's behind all these changes seriously needs to stop, because this is starting to get scary.
Recent discoveries, Part 4. Scientists have found an 18,000-year-old mummified puppy in Siberian permafrost with its teeth, nose, and whiskers still intact. DNA testing has not been able to determine whether Dogor is a wolf or dog. since it's possible that he represents a common ancestor to both. Last summer, a massive drought in Texas uncovered some fossilized footprints at Dinosaur Valley State Park, most likely belonging to a theropod called Acrocanthosaurus. The prints had been covered by water and sediment for over 113 million years. This incredible video shows archaeologists opening an ancient Egyptian sarcophagus in front of a crowd of people. The coffin contained the body of an ancient priest and had been sealed for over 2,500 years by this point. More than 100 old books, manuscripts, and documents, some 1,200 years old, were recently discovered in the attic of a church in Romania. The trove hadn't been touched in hundreds of years and contains lost information about Transylvania and its history.
You will not believe these people exist. At number one, we have Pralajani, the man who only consumed air. This man lived in a remote cave in India and only came out once a year to visit his family. He had not drunk or eaten anything in over 70 years. Prahlad said the only nutrients he got yearly was just nectar that he put in his hair. Scientists, however, were curious to find out if this man was telling the truth and decided to run some tests. The test results came back and it was confirmed that this man had not drunk or eaten anything in 70 years. Next, Shaolin monks have trained themselves to have the ability to nearly walk on water, float in the air, and also do a handstand with just 1 or 2 fingers on the ground. Finally, we have the Iceman. And no, I am not talking about Drake. I am talking about this man named Wim Hof. He can withstand freezing temperatures and exposure to direct ice for long periods using his unique breathing techniques. And he once did an ice bath for 1.5 hours.
Damn.
By the way, all the pictures and clips you saw in this video were generated using the Meme Stories AI tool. All I did was paste my idea, picked a style, clicked generate, and got exactly what I wanted. If you want to try it, check the link in my bio or drop a comment. More?
Yo, what's up? These are the most horrifying ways to die. Part 2. Death by Scaphism. Back around 500 BC is when Scaphism was considered one of the most disturbing ways of execution and torture in the world. And here is why. Basically what happened is the victim would be thrown into a wooden coffin or boat, and their hands would be tied to the top and bottom of the boat. And they would be force-fed milk and honey to make them use the bathroom, so they would be covered in their own feces and sent upriver. And it wouldn't be until later on down the stream when insects would start to come and attack this victim, and they couldn't do anything about it. In fact, some would even go inside of their body, lay eggs, and they would be eaten from the inside out. Some of the victims would just go ahead and die from dehydration and starvation, but the others would die from infections inside of their body from the insects, parasites, and other things that were laid inside of it. And don't forget, it took a victim around 17 days to die, so that's how long they experienced the torture.
Born on the literal perfect day. Back in 2019, a baby girl was born on July 11th, making the date 7/11. Well, the baby was also born at 7:11 p.m. and the baby also weighed 7 pounds and 11 ounces. From this, the convenience store 7-Eleven saw this and gave the baby $7,111, making this baby the most 7-Eleven baby in history. Next, in 2022, this baby girl was born at one of the craziest times possible because she was born on February 22nd, 2022, which is 2/22/2022. But she was also born at 2:22 a.m. and she weighed 7 pounds and 10 ounces, which makes her a total 122 total ounces. And I can't forget that she was born in room number 2 of the hospital. This is absolutely wild.
We have some crazy things going on in the world right now. A bride was late to her own wedding after an officer pulled her over for going 105 in a 45. A bus driver with over 30 years on the job lost his $84,000 pension after he was caught stealing $7. Thanks to appearances in music videos and commercials, technically Taylor Swift's cat Olivia has a higher net worth than her boyfriend Travis Kelce. An Air India crew member downgraded a passenger from first class and then used that seat to sleep. A 19-year-old man was sent to prison for 8 months after making a bomb threat to a cruise that his girlfriend was on because he admitted he was annoyed that he had to take care of her pets. Meteorologists could not use damage to determine the strength of a recent tornado that went through Michigan because the Amish communities that this tornado mostly affected repaired their homes too quickly. After a man saved for 10 years to buy his dream Ferrari, it went up in flames less than an hour after it was delivered.
This is a bittersweet.
Nah, just imagine that, man. You saving up, you stocking up. Everything, every freaking penny, dime, nickel, man, to get that Ferrari, you working class, and for it to end up in flames after you get it, I'm like, man, the universe hates me. I guess that was a sign, man.
Sweet case. On February 1986, 29-year-old Detective Stephanie Lazarus broke into her ex-boyfriend's house and murdered his wife Sherry Rasmussen in a fit of rage and jealousy. Stephanie successfully got away with murder for 23 years due to connections with the Los Angeles Police Department. Despite there being evidence against her, she was barely questioned. The crime was initially deemed to be a robbery gone wrong, but Sherry's family was convinced that Stephanie was involved since she was jealous that Sherry and John were happily married. When John returned home from work that evening, Sherry was found shot multiple times in the chest. Reports show that Stephanie had threatened Sherry at her workplace, stating, "If I can't have John, then nobody else will." In the meantime, Stephanie went on to start her own private investigation firm, and the case went cold. But 23 years later, on February 2009, a cold case detective squad decided to reinvestigate the case, and that's when they discovered that DNA was obtained from a bite mark on Sherry's body. And of course, that bite mark was a perfect match to Stephanie Lazarus. On March 8, 2012, Stephanie was convicted and sentenced to 27 years to life in prison and will be eligible for parole in 2039.
2025 just got even crazier, part 4. Firstly, in Poland, 240 mines were accidentally sent to an IKEA, and apparently the mishap only came to light when the IKEA store called the military to ask when they were going to pick up these mines from their IKEA warehouse. From this, an army general was fired for losing these mines. Next, we all know about this TikTok ban that is happening. Well, it's kind of backfiring, because thousands and thousands of TikTok users are switching to the Chinese app RedNote, and from this, Duolingo has seen a 216% spike in users in the US learning Mandarin. Finally, stealing has got so bad in some areas, some stores are starting to literally lock up everything, like regular items like chips. So now, you literally have to get an employee just to get a chip bag.
That's so sad, man. But I still remember that channel. Remember when people were like licking the ice cream?
These maps are going to change the way you see the world. This is how much income you're gonna need to join the top 1% in every US state. California makes it easy. It's just 1 million solid. Yeah, easy. So it looks like the highest is actually in Connecticut with 1.2 million. That's fascinating, actually. The lowest is in West Virginia. You only need $420,000 a year to be in the top 1%. Yeah, I know I say only, it's a lot of money, but also relatively, it's cool. But yeah, we're all doomed, so it doesn't matter. This is just a map of the Midwest. Yeah, it's definitely in the West and in the middle because it's the Midwest. This was the first transcontinental railroad that was completed in 1869. You now could cross the country within a week instead of multiple months. That was dangerous. Interesting that there was an Oregon Trail and a California Trail. So this map shows that the entire area of Manhattan is smaller than the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. This map divides the world into 4 equal quadrants and shows that the Northeast has almost 3 out of 4 people on Earth. It says 13% in the Northwest, but only 5% of that is in the United States, which is the same as the 5% in the Southwest. 86% of all humans live in the top side of this quadrant.
Let's see if you have trypophobia. I'm going to show you 5 photos. If you feel too uncomfortable to make it to the 5th photo, then you could have trypophobia. So let's go. Number 1. And how about this?
I'm cool.
Feeling uncomfortable yet? Nearly there. Last one. So let me know whether or not you have trypophobia in the comments down below.
I passed that with flying colors, man.
He performed plastic surgery on himself after murdering his teacher. In 2006, 22-year-old British teacher Lindsay Hawker moved to Tokyo to teach English at Chiba University. A year later, 28-year-old student Tetsuya Ichihashi asked Lindsay if he could receive private lessons from her. Lindsay agreed, and they met at a coffee shop a few days later for their first session. At the end of the session, Tetsuya told Lindsay he forgot his money at home and asked her to go back to his place to pick it up and pay her. So that's exactly what they did, and unfortunately, Lindsay never made it out of Tetsuya's apartment. Lindsay was reported missing the next day, so police went to Tetsuya's apartment and saw him escape by foot. When police entered Tetsuya's balcony, they found Lindsay's deceased body in a bath full of sand. Tetsuya then went into hiding for 2 years and a half, and he went to extreme measures to avoid authorities, such as physically changing his appearance himself. This included cutting off the moles from his face with a knife, trimming his lips to make them thinner, and reshaping his nose. All these changes allowed Tetsuya to be undetected for years, but his attempt to alter his appearance even more led to his arrest when a cosmetic doctor became suspicious about his scars and reported him to police. At Tetsuya's trial, he confessed to everything and was sentenced to life in prison.
This is the scary story about the park. There was a girl named Anna who was walking around a park one day when she saw a man carrying a woman, and he also had a kid right next to him. Anna thought it was odd that a man was carrying a full-grown woman around the park, so she went up to him and asked if everything was okay. The man said that it was his wife, and that she was sick and tired, but she was fine. Anna then said, "I hope she feels better," and then walked away. Anna then sat down on a bench nearby, and a couple minutes later, the man's child came running over to her and said, "Mommy's dead. Daddy killed Mommy. He's been carrying her dead body around the park all day." Anna sat there in shock as the man came over and got his kid, with his dead wife still slung over his shoulders.
Okay, that's weird. Call the cops then, man. The kid letting you
And the
know.
bodies of 9-year-old Peyton Decker, 8-year-old Evelyn Decker, and 5-year-old Olivia Decker were found deceased near Washington campground after they were reported missing by their mom. The girls left home for a planned visitation with their father on May 30th. Their bodies were found on June 2nd. Their cause of death has been ruled a suffocation. The manner of death has been ruled a homicide. Their father, 32-year-old Travis Decker, is a primary suspect, and he is currently on the run as we speak. On Friday, May 30th, the girl's mother called for help around 9:45 p.m. She said her girls were at their planned visit with their father, but he failed to return the girls on time, and she got worried and she needed help. The case is ongoing. There's a manhunt currently out for Travis Decker, the father. I'm not a lawyer. No one has been arrested yet. All this information is information that I found on the internet, and if I get anything wrong, please comment in the comments and we can figure it out together. Also, please keep in mind, please, this is a real case. People are mourning the deaths of these poor girls and they're hurt, so if you don't have anything nice to say, do not say anything at all. We know from the mother.
Breaking news, when Brian Kohberger was arrested, he asked one of the arresting officers if he wanted to go get coffee at another time. In these documents, Ann Taylor is trying to prove that Brian Kohberger does not have the ability to understand the magnitude of what he did. As an example of that, she states the following. She said, by way of example, when he was arrested at home with a full SWAT team, doors broken, and parents were zip-tied, he made small talk with the detective in the back of the police car on the ride to the police station. He asked the officer about his education and suggested that they get coffee at a later date. She said he did not perceive the profound seriousness of what was going on, and he did not have perception of what was happening. She said they now have experts to analyze his issues. In addition, here is an up-close image of the drawing that Dylan provided of the mask she saw Brian Kohberger wearing the night she ran into him in the home. Furthermore, the April 9th hearing has been changed. You will no longer be able to locate...
This is the most terrifying space photo ever. This is a real photo of astronaut Bruce McCandless. He is floating around 100 meters away from the space shuttle, and he's not wearing any tether connection or harness, meaning he could easily float away into the abyss of space. But why did he do such a dangerous thing? Well, in 1984, he was testing a space jetpack. So he stepped out of the Challenger space shuttle, and using the jetpack, flew away from the shuttle, flying alone into the dark abyss of space. Bruce was later asked about his experience. He said, "The thing that disturbed me most was, as I floated away from the shuttle, I felt extremely cold." He also said the silence of being alone was very scary. In this photo, he literally is the loneliest person in the universe.
That's different, man. Space jetpack, like I said. One more mistake, you floating out in space. The deep, dark abyss of space for the rest of your life. You have to be a brave person, man, to take on that job. I don't know if I can know. I know I can do that. That ain't me.
It's okay. Don't worry. God.
Okay, so that's just a puppet, but you know it's not? Meet the Tibetan fox. The fox nature designed strictly from memory. The Lord makes no mistakes, but sometimes he uses his left hand. That's how you get a fox straight out of Courage the Cowardly Dog. We're not entirely sure why it looks like amateur taxidermy, but some say it's a character development that comes with living on the very roof of the world. Apparently that's the peak physique when your address is up to 5,000 meters or 16,000 feet up in the air. The highest point in the US, not in Alaska, is just under 15,000. The result is an AI generated pika predator. Pika basically being the popcorn chicken of rabbits. And the main thing on this Temu Fox's grocery list. Sometimes this uncanny valley Volpes goes on a two-man with bears, where the bears dig the prey up and the funny-in-the-face fox runs them down. All while having the expression of immigrant parents to a firstborn, terminally disappointed and remarkably unimpressed. I still love you, Mom. Except when they're about to murk a marmot. That's enough to make him hit the Heisman. And despite the free-handed by Faith Fox proving that 5-year-old me can draw, they actually look pretty normal as pups. And the way you see them might change when you see how little they are next to us. Because when you live in God's snowed-in Tibetan attic with the windows open, it's best to be small. In fact, the best theory is that protection from the constant wind is why they look like that. Something about preserving moisture in the eyes. But it also means you can get side-eyed looking dead in this fur emoji's face, the more you know.
I don't know if I can visit Mexico.
Yeah.
Why? Bro, they have the scariest urban legends.
For real?
Yeah, they got La La Chuza, which is a shape-shifting witch that looks like an owl and is 7 feet tall with the face of a woman. And you're not supposed to go outside if you hear whistling in your window.
What else?
Oh, and La Llorona. She usually stays near bodies of water. She wears a white gown, long hair, and she's always crying for her children that she actually drowned. So you're next if you see her while driving on the side of the road.
Oh my God.
There's like this abandoned Disney park in Veracruz, Mexico.
What about it?
It has a statue that moves at night. There was 2 people exploring the abandoned park and caught it on video. Fam, you gotta check this out.
No, aguanta. Deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien. Deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, güey, eso no es el velador. No digas perras mamadas, no digas mamadas. Güey, es que era el vestido también así, güey. Amarillo.
And it's static, frozen. I'm good on Mexico.
But they do have beautiful women.
You right, we might have to risk it.
This 14-foot tiger shark would vomit up something that would terrify visitors and force shocked aquarium owners to call the police. Bert Hobson was in trouble. As the owner of the Coogee Aquarium in Sydney, his business was struggling. His prayers were answered when he caught a monster 14-foot tiger shark weighing over a ton. Hopefully this would draw in the crowds. One sunny morning, the aquarium packed with visitors, the shark began to writhe and convulse. Eventually it vomited a rat, then a bird, then finally a whole human arm, complete with tattoos. Police attended and took fingerprints from the dismembered arm. The database matched them to a missing person, Jimmy Smith. Police interviewed one of Jimmy's friends. He cracked and revealed the full gruesome story of exactly what happened. Jimmy was involved in an insurance scam. He became greedy and tried to blackmail one of the other gang members before he went missing. The rest of his body was never found.
So they just fed it to the tiger shark?
Tonight's premiere starts at 9. We're giving away a free gift bag on YouTube. I'm sorry for the delay. It's about an hour late, but this video is one you don't want to miss. We're hunting the spirit of one of the most notorious criminals in American history, cult leader Jim Jones. Yes, we actually spent the night at his childhood church investigating this property, and it's rumored to be a location haunted by demonic entities. The energy that we captured on camera inside of the building, the evidence, is astounding stuff. It's some of the clearest, most definitive, most disturbing paranormal activity that I've ever caught on camera. But the video premiere starts tonight at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, so I will see all of you guys there. Make sure you leave a comment, like the video, and if you want to be entered to win the gift bag this week, comment Jim Jones on the video and like the video. Anyways, guys, I'll see you in a few hours, and yeah, this is not one you want to miss.
Should I check that out, man? The Paranormal Files, he be hunting that paranormal activity, so.
One of my biggest fears is finding something like this on my camera roll. The photo actually comes from Kelsey Surt back in 2013. She was a 17-year-old at the time, and she was browsing her camera roll when she found something that she didn't recognize. And that was this photo. It was a picture that she didn't take, but she could tell from the background that this was taken in her room. Police would review the info card on this photo where they see that it was taken at 1:39 p.m. That didn't make sense because Kelsey knew that for this date and this time she had her phone on her at school, which meant that whoever did take this photo of themselves, they also had the foresight to go in and change the date and the time that it was taken to throw off the investigation. Police also go in to try to brighten up the photo, right? Digitally enhance it, but even with this version, they cannot successfully identify who this is. Are they wearing a mask? Is that a person? But whoever took the photo and why just remains an unknown.
Scariest urban legend from each state, part 4. Robert the doll from Florida. A young boy named Eugene was gifted this doll as a birthday present. Eugene had Robert sleep next to him every single night, until a random night where Eugene woke up and saw Robert sitting across the room from him. After that night, things changed. They noticed every night that they heard footsteps in the attic, and something running up and down the stairs. He was inhabited by some demonic spirit, even having the neighbors say that they saw Robert looking through the window of the attic every single night. Robert is currently in an extremely safe spirit box in the East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida. It's stated if you make eye
was kidnapped and sacrificed by a cult that believed human sacrifice would protect their drug smuggling business. This is Mark Kilroy. He was a 21-year-old UT Austin student. Him and many other classmates were vacationing in South Padre. They found him and 14 other remains of other people. This cult was absolutely sick in the head. He was sodomized and tortured before they murdered him. He was then killed with a machete blow to the head. His brain was taken out and then boiled in a pot. After police discovered the remains, they arrested 4 cult members and hunted down the leader. The leader literally informed everyone that human sacrifice would protect their drug smuggling business, like I said, and it granted them immunity from law enforcement. I'm not sure where he got that from. When police had Costanzo cornered, he ordered a follower to shoot him. Like I said, most of the cult members were arrested, only 2 escaped and are still at large today. The media immediately labeled these people as Satanists. Although they didn't practice Satanism, it was something else. They also engaged in cannibalism with their victims. It was insane. Imagine being on spring break, getting kidnapped, tortured, and sacrificed by a cult and having your brain boiled in a pot. Not that you would be conscious or alive to know what's going on, but that is one of the most horrific ways to go out. What are your opinions on the story? Let me know.
Truly is, man. It shows, man, when people get that type of manipulation, they'll believe anything. You really told them they had immunity
His
from the
attacker
police.
used his head as a soccer ball. 15-year-old Michael Moss lived in Liverpool, had a happy childhood, and had an interest in mechanics. His mother stated that he wasn't very academic, but he could take a bike apart and put it back together, and he really loved motorbikes. When Michael was only 11 years old, his father passed away and his whole world was turned upside down. He was deeply affected by his father's death, and quickly at school, his behavior became disruptive and he was excluded. Because of that, Michael started attending a pupil referral unit that helped children with special educational needs before he was sent to a children's home to give his mother a break. It was there in 1999 when Michael would meet his future killers, his bullies, Alan, Mark, and Graham. Michael tried to keep a distance from these boys, but when he started dating Alan's ex-girlfriend, things would take a turn. Alan was not happy about this, and he would do anything to get revenge. Those 3 boys got together, drank alcohol, and watched Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs and got a plan into action. At 1 in the morning, Michael got a phone call from those 3 boys that they had a motorbike and they wanted him to look at it, and since he had a love for motorbikes, he was not going to say no, so unfortunately, he fatally took the bait. Michael had left the children's home where he was staying at and arrived at Moss Lane Park, and this is when he was ambushed. The 3 boys laid Michael on the floor and they each took turns kicking his head like a soccer ball. Michael's injuries were so severe that he was just unrecognizable. Michael did pass away from his injuries, and once his mother found out what had happened to him, she was heartbroken. As the investigation started, there was already evidence against the 3 boys, and Graham had actually turned himself in after he had told his mother what he had did as well as the other boys. July 26 of 2000, the 3 boys were found guilty. Alan and Mark were sentenced to 10 years in prison, while Graham was sentenced to 9 years.
If you hate clowns, this movie is really gonna get you. I just got out of seeing Clown in a Cornfield, and man, this movie was so much fun. Now, I've also read the book written by Adam Cesar, and I'm here to tell you it is an excellent and faithful adaptation of the novel. Quinn has just moved to Kettle Springs, and it's very obvious from the beginning something is not right. With an already growing major divide between the adults and the youths of the town Kettle Springs, you'd think that'd be bad enough, but now there is a clown in a cornfield. And y'all really don't want to fuck with Friendo. This was such a fun slasher movie, which was perfect because the book felt exactly the same tonal-wise. And it harkens back to the good old slashers of the 80s and 90s. And a major reason for that is Friendo himself. This clown is iconic, he's awesome looking, and terrifying as hell. And the best part is, it's palatably scary for most audiences going to see it. Take your friends and family and just have a good time watching a killer clown run through a cornfield hacking up the teenagers. It's got its own unique twists and turns, and I absolutely love Frendo's just fit and vibe. Also, I need one of these Jack in the Boxes, or Friendo in a Boxes. I need it. Clown in a Cornfield opens this weekend in theaters, and please do not miss this excellent slasher that is fun for frickin' everybody.
This disturbing image may not look real, but it very much is. This is a picture of Rhoda Derry, and I'm going to tell you her sad and tragic story. Rhoda Derry was born on October 10, 1834 in Adams County, Illinois. She lived a pretty normal life in a well-to-do farming family. Like any other teenage girl, when she was 16 she fell in love and began a romantic relationship with a boy who happened to live on the farm next door. The boy's parents weren't fond of their relationship, and it really went south when they found out their plans to marry a couple years later. They believed that Rhoda may be involved in witchcraft, a tale that dated back to her grandmother, Mary Derry of Pennsylvania. The story surrounding her grandmother frightened Rhoda, and matters were only made worse when the boy's mother came to her and told her to stay away, and if not, she would curse her. This is when things went south for Rhoda. She had a severe mental breakdown and eventually grew to believe that an evil spirit called Old Scratch was haunting her. She was hospitalized but was deemed incurable, so she was returned back home to her parents. Her parents tried to care for her, but it became too much, so she was sent to Adams County Almshouse when she was 25 years old on September 3, 1860. The almshouse was known for treating patients inhumanely, and for 4 decades Rhoda was subjected to horrific conditions. A report from the General Assembly in 1881 indicated that Rhoda spent most of her time naked inside of a wooden box filled with straw. Her excrement filled the box and mice built nests around her. Rhoda sat in the box in a crouched position with her knees up to her chin. Because she sat in this position for so long, she eventually lost movement in her legs. She was constantly moving as well, so she had bruises all over her body. She even punched her face and knocked out her teeth, as well as gouged out her eyes. To make matters even worse, Rhoda could not speak. In 1904, she was sent to Bartonville Asylum. She was bathed daily and slept in a bed for the first time in decades. On October 9, 1906, the day before her 72nd birthday, she passed away. Rest in peace, Rhoda Derry.
And a haunting, it really messed with her.
This new UK ban is gonna ruin a lot of kids' lives. Sorry guys, if you're still in school or your kids are still in school, then I feel bad for you. Probably know there's been the whole talk about social media bans and stuff for years. Of course, Australia started implementing it last year. More recently, there's been a lot of these petitions popping up in the UK saying social media should be banned under 16, and it's got a lot of signatures. Now it's being called for a bit more officially though, with the government looking into it, police chiefs, and well, here's the latest. Looks like very soon there are going to be time limits and bans coming into place, so yeah kids, I'm sorry. First of all, kids who are under 16, they're not going to be banning it completely, but there are going to be time limits. So you're only going to be allowed to use 2 hours on social media every single day, and after 10 PM at night you won't be able to go on any of it whatsoever. As people have been saying, this raises a lot of concerns because, well, some kids use things like WhatsApp to communicate with family and that, which counts as social media. Of course, there's also a lot of people who think this is a very good thing and kids need to have less time on their phone and social media. I'm also not sure how they're going to get around certain things though to make this fully official, because everybody would just use a VPN or pretend they're a different age. But let me know your thoughts if this is a good or a bad thing, and as always, I'll keep you updated.
What do you guys think on that one, Seekers? Good thing we're going to be limited the kids' social media time? Or you think that's an invasion of privacy? They're going a step too far. You gotta protect the kids out here though, so they're just doing anything they can.
Disturbing discovery tonight, where investigators say a remote cave contains what may be the largest collection of crime scene evidence in state history.
Illinois' darkest secret just crawled out of the shadows. A cave packed with over 3,000 blood-soaked shoes, apparently spanning 300 years of disappearances.
We're seeing blood patterns consistent with violent trauma. The preservation conditions in the cave have kept some samples remarkably intact.
And the nightmare's just beginning. What began as a hiker's social media post has become a massive forensic investigation. On June 12th, a local college student exploring off-trail discovered the cave containing footwear ranging from 18th century moccasins to modern athletic shoes. nearly all with traces of blood.
The amount of shoes inside that cave is still unknown, but what I find most strange is why haven't we found these bloody shoes until now?
Forensic analysis has already matched DNA from several shoes to missing persons cases. The oldest confirmed match dates to 1792, a frontiersman who disappeared while surveying the area.
This isn't just a crime scene, Tide. It's a timeline of disappearances stretching from pioneer days to the digital age. The consistency is what's truly terrifying.
Hollow Vale Cave has become more than just a crime scene. It's a time capsule of tragedy, holding secrets from America's frontier past to the digital age. For investigators, the work is just beginning. For families of the missing, this discovery could mean answers centuries in the making. As hashtag Bloody Shoes continues to trend, let us know what you think in the comments below.
This is a true horrifying story.
Scary
Part
story.
82. This story took place in Cardiff, the capital of Wales. The story happened to a Muslim brother. It happened this month. And I urge everyone watching this to keep this brother in your prayers and your du'as. He also requested that we don't use his real name. So I'll give him a false name for the sake of this story and call him Ahmed. Ahmed is 20 years old. He is a second-year college student and he works part-time as a delivery driver. He had an order to deliver in an area called Pentrubane. It's an old village with nothing on the way there, just bushes and trees right and left. Now, Ahmed has bladder issues. Ever since he was young, every time he needed to use the toilet, he wasn't able to hold it for too long. On his way to Pentrubane, he had to use the toilet urgently, and there was nothing on the way there, so he stopped his vehicle, went inside the bushes, and peed on one of the bushes. After he was done, he hopped back on his vehicle and proceeded towards the delivery point. On that same night, Ahmed went to bed, and while he was sleeping, he was awakened by a feeling of someone suffocating him. He was paralyzed, but his eyes were wide open. He saw a dark, slender-like figure that wrapped his hands around Ahmed's neck. He would get attacked every single night by this demon. He would also dream of the same demon haunting his little siblings. This demon was very upset with Ahmed. Some of you may not know why this is happening. Jinns come in various forms, powers, types, and sizes. Some live in caves, some in the ocean, and some in bushes. When you sabotage their homes, they will do everything they can to hurt you. When you burn a bush or spill hot water on a bush or even pee in a bush, they will try to kill you. I will leave this to our brother Mu'min Abu Mecca to teach you what you must do to prevent being stuck in a situation like this.
So don't pee on bushes. Noted, okay.
It's true, you're all I ever dreamed.
So I can tell you why that figure is weird. This figure depicts the child version of a famous character in Japan known as Super Sonico. Now, according to Wikipedia, Super Sonico is typically portrayed as an 18-year-old college student. Of course, she has to be 18, barely above the legal age. And this character is absolutely hyper-sexualized. Like almost every single image that I can find online, it was very, very sexualized. And you know that there are people out there who really deeply get off to stuff like this. Especially a character like this whose every image and portrayal is hyper-sexualized. I mean, I challenge you, Google the name and look for an image that isn't dirty in some way. So when a character is typically portrayed in ways like this, which leads people to develop crushes on the character and, do things while they're looking at the character, if you know what I'm saying, and then you release a child version of that character as a toy, covered in some sort of white cream. I'm not even going to really describe the rest of this thing. I think you guys can tell what is so wrong about this. And I just cannot believe that they would actually not only create this toy, but go on to sell it, promote it to people, and try to turn this into something that it never should have been in the very first place. So that's why it's disturbing in my opinion. If you want to hear me rant more about topics like this, listen to my podcast, The Conspiracy Files, available on all streaming platforms. The show's also on YouTube.
These people get
Broke it down
trapped in an
perfectly.
elevator and they have no cell reception. So they use the call button to call the building concierge. But the concierge refuses to call the fire department.
You guys refuse to call the fire department because you're gonna say Monday. Is that the case?
The procedure is for the security on site to do that, but I've let them know.
Yeah, but call the fire department. It's emergency.
So they're stuck in this elevator for an hour and a half. They were apparently in there so long that the woman who was in there with them is about to pass out. So they start begging.
We have a woman that's about to pass out. What's not the emergency?
I need to get out, please, please, please.
But the concierge still refuses to call the fire department to let him out, saying,
Sickening.
just wait on our technician.
The fire department will also wait on the technicians as well. And even
So why is she refusing to call the fire department? So apparently the fire department will fine the building if they have to come out too many times for things like elevator problems.
You're not calling it because it costs $10,000 to get fire department here. It's a way to save money.
So a lot of these buildings will do everything they can to avoid calling them. And people want to call the fire department because, firemen get there fast. And as part of the fire code, they have access to the elevator room and they have elevator keys to like every operational elevator in the city. So when the concierge said firemen wait for the technician,
the fire department will also wait on the technicians as well.
hell no, they don't. Firemen don't wait for anybody. Fire department will cut your damn front door open just to get you out. Those guys don't play around. So eventually, you can guess what happened. The woman passed out, or maybe she's taking a nap. I don't know, the footage doesn't actually specify. But the concierge never called the fire department, and the people trapped in the elevator had to wait an hour and a half for the building maintenance guy to show up and let them out. I'm gonna take a wild guess here and say that that building is getting sued.
Everyone's...
Heck yeah, we're soothing, bro. Them trying to save a measly 10K, man, but a woman's about to pass out. That's just shameful, man. Shameful activity right there. I'm stuck in the elevator for an hour and you refuse to call the fire department because you trying to save some money? Nah. You gonna lose weight. You gonna lose some more money, man, when I hit you with that freaking with that lawsuit. Somebody coming out of their coins, man.
Once in a while, animals will do things that not even science can fully explain, and apparently, that's what happened in 2005. Because that's when a 12-year-old Ethiopian girl was kidnapped and beaten by a group of men who were trying to get her to marry one of them. Nasty work, repugnant even. After being missing for over a week, it was getting to the point where her family was just expecting the worst. But eventually she was found, except with a different kind of predator. Because according to the story, they found the injured and traumatized girl surrounded by a group of lions, almost like they were guarding her. And once police arrived, the lions calmly retreated back into the forest like they clocked out of a shift or something. Which has led many people to believe that not only did the lions chase off her attackers, they stayed with her until help came. Now what a lot of scientists believe actually happened is that the little girl's cries might have sounded like that of a lion cub, and since lions are naturally wary of people, honestly, couldn't blame them. Once the police, aka other humans, arrived, that's when the lions decided to fall back. But we've also seen lions do things like this. I'm not gonna act like I know the answer, but sometimes you gotta just stop asking why and just appreciate what's in front of you. The more you know.
Scariest urban legend from each state, part 4. Robert the doll from Florida. A young boy named Eugene was gifted this doll as a birthday present. Eugene had Robert sleep next to him every single night, until a random night where Eugene woke up and saw Robert sitting across the room from him. After that night, things changed. They noticed every night that they heard footsteps in the attic, and something running up and down the stairs. He was inhabited by some demonic spirit, even having the neighbors say that they saw Robert looking through the window of the attic every single night. Robert is currently in an extremely safe spirit box in the East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida. It's stated if you make eye contact or take a picture with Robert without his permission, some seriously bad things can happen to you.
Stay away from Robert, bro. Good thing he didn't go missing like the Annabelle doll. That was a saga, man. But they found her, right? I'm going to say they found her and they put her back in their, I guess, special box or something.
Disturbing facts that'll keep you awake. Apparently 30% of people see strange things in a hallway when it's pitch black. Are you one of those people? And I found this next one pretty disgusting. But did you know bed mattresses gain weight over time? Due to all the dead skin, sweat and bodily fluids we have. And did you know unlike other predators, bears won't try to kill you before eating you. A bear will just start eating straight away. But the good thing is, if a bear is following you, you'll most likely hear him. But if a mountain lion is following you, you're most likely done for. And while on the topic of animals, did you know tarantulas travel in swamps of tens of thousands? And apparently there's a town in Australia where this phenomenon actually happens once a year, and it's terrifying.
I will not be going there. What the
Normal
hell?
things you should never do in Japan. Alright, so first you should never blow your nose in public, because apparently it's considered impolite and people might start staring at you. So try finding a private place to do it. Next, it is pretty common to wear shoes indoors, right? But in Japan you have to remove your shoes when you go into someone's house. If you don't, it might be the last time they invite you. And I'm sure if you're from the US, you've given a tip before, right? But if you do it in Japan, it is considered rude, and some places don't even accept it at all. But finally, if you have tattoos but you want to go to public baths, you will most likely be denied, because tattoos are still associated with organized crime, such as the Yakuza and other gangs.
Damn,
Creepy fact you probably don't know, but you're about to. Part 2. At one time, doctors thought that babies didn't feel pain. It took up until 1987 for the American Academy of Pediatrics to declare that it was unethical to operate on babies without anesthesia. So that means for years, babies were forced to just sit there and suffer through surgery without any form of pain control or anesthetics. So yeah, that's kind of scary.
It truly is, man.
Hearing those, I'm sorry, but that's why
you should never do this. This is 17-year-old Michael Dumas. He was on a church trip to Florida with some of his friends. While on this trip, they went to Pompano Beach, and he would be buried in the sand as you see here. He'd soon be unburied and all would be well until later that night when he would wake up in the middle of the night and be itching like crazy and sweating. At first, this would be labeled as an ear infection and he would be sent home with drops. But it would soon be obvious that that's not what it was, as he started to develop these raised, bumpy rashes. And he became pretty lethargic, just wanting to sleep all the time. It got even worse to the point where he was having these big, nasty blisters. And that's when he'd finally be diagnosed with cutaneous larva migrans, which is pretty much dog or cat hookworm. So pretty much these work by the dog or the cat pooping in the sand and contaminating it, and then not long after, these microscopic larvae hatch, and then you step in this contaminated sand and you end up looking like Michael. After all of this, he ended up developing a staph infection as well. And if it's not bad enough just him getting infected, 5 others from this trip got infected with hookworm as well.
Disturbing body facts that might ruin your day. If you have a surgery where your other organs need to be moved around, they might not function a day after the surgery because the body assumes they're just dead. Next, the brain is the last thing to function when you pass away, meaning in most cases you will hear, feel and smell your last moments on Earth. And it's possible to die from a pimple, let me explain. If a pimple gets infected, let's say from you itching it, the infection could get into your bloodstream, causing you to have an intense fever. Then a few days later you will start having seizures and vomiting everywhere, so try not to play too much with your pimples. And finally, it's possible to get brain damage from a toothache, because if you have a tooth infection, there's a high chance of it getting to the brain if it's not taken care in time.
I had that a couple of days ago, man. Toothaches are the worst.
Celebrity chef and host of Worst Cooks in America, Anne Burrell, was found dead in her New York home this morning. Dead at the relatively young age of 55. If you don't know who Anne was, she was the host of one of America's most popular food shows, Worst Cooks in America. Side note, I was actually cast on this show a few years ago. They flew me out to New York City. I got to meet the cast that ended up filming that season. Now, they did end up replacing me and then flying me out back home. I never made it onto the show and I never got to meet Anne. But if I would have been given the chance, I would have loved to have competed. Anne was born in 1969 in New York. She discovered her love for food at a young age. She attended various culinary institutes before moving into the restaurant world, and eventually she made her way into television, and finally at one point was cast in the starring role in the television show Worst Cooks. Now, just 5 days ago, Anne posted this photograph on her Instagram, and strangely enough, she looks glowing. She looks incredibly happy and healthy. And an official cause of death has not been released yet. I couldn't find any information about this anywhere, and so it's really unknown exactly what happened here and why it happened. But Anne is definitely going to be missed by all. RIP to her. And yeah, if there are any more significant updates, I'll be sure to hop on and make another video for you guys.
The Teletubbies conspiracy theory claims that the show was inspired by events that happened in a Bulgarian mental facility called La La Land. Children there were isolated from the others and placed in dark rooms. But apparently 4 of those children died on the same day, inspiring the Teletubbies. Lala apparently had facial disfigurement and was isolated for 5 years. And that inspired the Teletubby Lala. Toy was a deaf, facially disfigured kid who was tied to a fence outside and had gotten frostbitten from the cold. This inspired Tinky Winky. Donka, who was starved and was very, very sick, would lay in his own vomit for days, inspired Dipsy. And finally, Paulina, who had fell into a fire and was roasted alive, inspired Poe. But you won't believe the reason they were called the Teletubbies. You see, the children's main source of entertainment in their rooms were their TVs. They were as small as a small iPad. Sometimes when they heard their toys was going to be confiscated, they would hide them in their mouths. And they had just found out that the institution was going to get rid of the TVs. And they didn't want that, and they couldn't hide the TVs in their mouths. So one of them had the great idea to hide them in their stomachs, because that's the only place they could fit. Mind you, these kids are a little bit not all the way there. So they came up with a plan to rip their insides out in order to fit the TVs inside and hide them. They tried it, and the next morning, the caregiver walked in on all 4 children dead.
Creepy theory, man. But I heard that the Teletubbies conspiracy theory is supposed to be cat. And like I said, see, because we all
Guys,
do
you're
our
gonna
own
like this one.
research.
We have an internet magician, the card guy, who wants to get barbecued. All right then. Man, first of all, you look like Tom Hardy if he worked at Applebee's. You look like a present-day Screech. And bro, what is up with those big-ass ears? Can you hear the future? Do you use a shower head as earbuds? And what does Neptune sound like? And that's a pretty sick beard there, Meth Rogan. Yeah, I guess if I did street magic, I'd want to hide my face too. And yeah, what kind of magic tricks do you do? I mean, you're pretty good at making smiles disappear. And do you call yourself card guy because you have to card the women you date? And what was it like being on that episode of Futurama? And was that you in that video screaming, "Just do it"? All right, card guy, there's your roast, man. Hey, dude, your magic tricks are really cool. Keep up the good work. But there's one trick I really think you should try. I want you to do that one that Siegfried and Roy did.
Damn, online roast, bro.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 5. Despite if you're using incognito mode, Wi-Fi routers actually keep logs of what websites you visit, and the owner of the router can check this whenever they want. So hopefully you don't have anything to hide. A woman in Russia had a shit ton of twins, triplets, and quadruplets with the same man, totaling to 69 children.
What the?
Nice. Tarantulas taste like shrimp. According to some cannibals, the most delicious part of the human body is the eyeball, and they especially like licking them. The skin on your lips is the same skin that's on your butthole. Dolphins sometimes bite off the head of a fish and masturbate into the decapitated body. A bubble caused by false vacuum decay could be growing through our universe right now, destroying everything it touches, and we would have no idea because it travels at the speed of light. 2020, please no.
Scary facts you wish you never knew. There's a shack called the Devil's Toy Box in Louisiana, and for some reason people who go in lose their minds. You know the tingly feeling you get when you eat a pineapple? Well, that's because the pineapple is eating you. It has an enzyme called bromelain, and that enzyme eats meat, which you're made of. I'm gonna stick to watermelon. No one can comment on this video and get 0 likes. Sharks have been around for 420 million years, meaning they have survived all 4 big mass extinctions, making them older than dinosaurs, Mount Everest, and even some trees on this planet. Yet we could potentially see them go extinct in our lifetime. The person who invented homework came up with the idea as a punishment for his students. Now you can check if your phone activity is being monitored. Just click on share, slide all the way to the end, click more, and if any apps appear before your contacts, you should delete it immediately. This is a photo of Lyndon B. Johnson. In it, he's being sworn as president, just 2 hours after JFK was unalived. And the woman he's standing next to is Jackie Kennedy, who still had her husband's blood on her shirt. Lyndon B. Johnson turned to his friend, Albert Thompson, while Albert smirked and winked back. The photographer who captured the picture called the photo completely sinister. Doja Cat scares me. Studies show that people who like and follow me get smarter every day.
Let's talk about one of the worst torture methods in history. This brings us to something called the tub. So as you see here, the chosen one would be crammed into a wooden tub with only their head exposed. They would then have milk and honey smeared and poured on top of their head and face. Then brings the flies. These flies and other insects just swarm to the person attracted by this milk and honey, and there they just continue to annoy the person, causing them extreme distress and discomfort. If that's not bad enough, then you're stuck in this wooden tub in agony with all these bugs all over you, and you can't move at all because you're crammed in there so tight. And to really just torture them even more, they'd feed the person over and over again, which, you know, makes you gotta go. And I'm sure you can imagine how that goes, with it eventually piling up until it's just covering all around you. This would then lead to the maggots and the worms, which come from this, and they pretty much just eat you alive. It's said the longest a person lasted in this was 17 whole days, and they pretty much decayed alive.
Now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it. So the other day, a Reddit user posted this photo to Reddit. It's of his apartment at night. He had been complaining of hearing rustling noises in his apartment over the last couple nights. Many users thought they could kind of see something in this area of his kitchen, but I couldn't, so I looked at the brightened version. This is the photo brightened. And I know what you're gonna say, yes it does look like Keanu Reeves, but look at how tall he is compared to the fridge. But it gets so much worse. This is a video he took of his apartment at night where you can see something happen to the light in the kitchen. But let's look at the brightened version.
You can see the shadow right there, bro.
Yes, it's terrifying, but is it a ghost?
I don't know. I think that somebody in his house. That look like no ghost. You might have a squatter.
I found this while thrifting. Is this art or something else?
Careful when you're thrifting, or you might run into something like this. This, my friends, is a porcelain doll. Click the plus, drop a like, tag a friend, share with 3, or this might come after you. Though it's actually stated that most porcelain dolls are actually extremely haunted, of spirits that don't want to be messed with. You see how it's perfectly woven? It needs to stay that way. Those knots are not meant to come undone. Who knows what lives inside of that doll? I think the best plan of attack is to put that doll back exactly where you found it. Hopefully it's not too late. Hopefully you didn't already take it home, or show people, or even try and open the doll all the way. Because if that's the case, well, things are gonna get really weird in your life. Everyone always jokes about the Annabelle doll, but if you think about it, it's in a giant glass case with pages from the Bible in it to keep whatever inside of it inside of that case. I would put it back before it's too late.
Yeah, I know we don't do dolls over here, Seekers, man. They creepy to me.
3 ways to survive a skinwalker. Number 1, don't ever whistle in the woods. No matter if it's daytime or nighttime, that's a calling signal, meaning that you're letting the skinwalker know exactly where you are. Number 2, pray as hard to whatever you believe in as possible. Skinwalkers are demonic creatures, being so that they were transformed this way because they are cannibals, and have killed before. Number 3, white ash tree rubbed bullets may be one of the only other ways to stop a skinwalker in its tracks. Of course, most people don't have those laying around, so if you're in an area where you think you may or may not be able to run into one, you may want to pack those just in case. Don't forget to like and follow for another episode.
This ride malfunction might be a symptom of a much bigger problem. This video shows the moment where the Atmosphere ride at Oaks Amusement Park in Oregon malfunctioned, leaving 28 people hanging upside down for 30 minutes. Hazen Hathorn was one of the riders on the ride, and a fun fact is that he doesn't have freckles. Those are all broken blood vessels that occurred from hanging upside down for so long. We don't know exactly why the ride malfunctioned just yet. There's still an investigation ongoing, but this is maybe a symptom of a much bigger issue that's happening. And that's the fact that in America, there's little to no regulations for theme park rides, meaning there's not really a standard for how often rides are maintained to be deemed safe. I literally just did a whole episode on this for the podcast where I talk about other theme park disasters that have happened throughout history. This picture is actually from a theme park ride test where the flume completely flew off of the ride, and that ride would go on to open and claim the life of a 10-year-old boy. And that's because the creator of the ride wasn't an engineer, he was just a hobbyist. But in America, if you can dream up a ride, you can make it. For instance, in Florida, parks with over 1,000 workers don't even have officials from the state inspect the rides for safety. Now, giving them the benefit of the doubt, no one died on this ride, and I'm sure it was made by engineers and not just some guy. If you want to hear about more theme park disasters that occurred throughout history because of our lack of safety regulations in America, you should check out episode 70 of the Heart Starts Pounding podcast.
Let's talk about this. See, that's how I'm figuring. I'm a person who be like stays away from roller coasters. I rode a couple, man, but I'm not a big like roller coaster type of person. I didn't even know the freaking security, man, was so lax on the regulations on those rides. See, I had a feeling, man. It saved me.
This picture. Captured in 2008 by Daniel Young, this is one of the only pieces of evidence that this encounter actually happened. So Daniel was a custodian at Myrtle Elementary School where he worked the night shift. It's a pretty routine night. He's just listening to music when he's suddenly interrupted by the sound of a woman's laughter. He turned around and was terrified when he saw an unknown woman smiling from behind the corner. This was a locked school on after hours, so clearly she was an adult who broke in, so he tried to snap a picture to identify her and then chases after her. But when he turned the corner, she had already darted out of an emergency exit. Later that night, police are called to a home where they arrived at a tragedy. An unknown woman had broken into a nearby home where she knifed two parents, one who was the principal of this school, so brutally they were unrecognizable. One of the daughters who witnessed this woman before she got away described her as this person. Could this photo be of the same unknown woman? And what her connection is to the school and the principal, we don't know.
Kids who have unalived someone, part 4. 15-year-old Alyssa Bustamante convinced her younger sister to go to the neighbors 4 houses down and convince their 9-year-old daughter, Elizabeth Olton, to come out and play. Elizabeth's mother was hesitant at first because dinner was almost ready, but she agreed. Alyssa's sister had no idea what her older sister was up to. Once she was in the clear and away from her home, Alyssa proceeded to strangle Elizabeth, as well as slit her throat and stab her in the chest, and then bury her in the hole she had dug days before. After committing this crime, Alyssa wrote in her diary, "It was amazing. Once you get over the oh my god feeling, it's actually pretty enjoyable." She was sentenced to life in prison.
That's an insane story right there. You wouldn't believe until you heard it.
Creepiest things kids have ever said. A woman drove past a cemetery with her 3-year-old daughter in the back seat every day. The 3-year-old kept telling her mom that people in the cemetery were waving at her. This went on for a while until the woman stopped driving past the cemetery forever when the daughter said that a lady wanted her to come in. A family moved into a new furnished apartment with an unsettling painting in the bedroom that kind of looked like hair free-flowing in the air. The 2-year-old son was being settled in for his daily nap until suddenly he said he didn't want to sleep in that room. When mom asked why, he said, "This painting looks at me and tries to talk to me, and I don't like it." A 4-year-old girl spent every day with her great-grandmother, and every day she'd go home, she'd say, "God be with you." One time when she was leaving, she said, "Go with God." Her mother tried to correct her, but she said it again. That night, the great-grandmother passed away. Follow for more of the
Disturbing and scary facts you didn't know. Part 2. A man named Francesco Lentini had 3 legs, 4 feet, 16 toes, and 2 sets of functioning male genitals. He worked for a circus and lived until the age of 78. During the early 1990s, a serial killer named Joseph Matheny owned a burger stand located in Baltimore, Maryland. After his arrest in 1996, he confessed to feeding his customers the flesh of at least 3 humans he had murdered. Now, you can check if your phone activity is being monitored. Just click on Share, slide all the way to the end, click More, and if any apps appear before your contacts, you should delete it immediately. Albert Fish, an American serial killer, boasted that he killed in every state and claimed to have had over 100 victims. What makes him even more sickening is that he sent letters to his victims' parents to tell them how good their children tasted. A new homeowner was shocked to find a rag doll boarded up in a wall cavity clutching a note saying she killed a family.
Urban legends that were proven to be real, Part 1. The Candy Lady. In the early 1900s, children in an unnamed rural town in Texas started to go missing, and the residents blamed it on the Candy Lady. The story says that she would go around leaving candy on children's windows, and eventually she'd lure the kids out with notes attached promising more candy. The story picked up steam when a farmer allegedly found rotten teeth in his farm, later found the body of a boy with his pockets stuffed with candy. Fall for next urban legend.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. There are thousands of old diseases frozen in the glaciers of the world, and global warming will eventually release them all. If a person dies in their costume at Disney, like Mickey Mouse, they have to be sat down on a bench so it looks like they're resting. Climate change is making spiders bigger. Some female spiders allow their young to eat them alive. Tooth in the eye surgery is when surgeons put a tooth in a blind person's eye to restore their sight. It was pioneered in the 1960s, and it actually works, and it's still being done today. The chances of a successful CPR outside of a hospital is only 7%. Cell phones are 10 times dirtier than a toilet seat. When you suddenly wake up during the night without any reason, there was someone or something staring at you. Yeah, there's a lot more, like for part 12.
We are dead. This conspiracy theory is going to mess you up. If you don't want me to ruin your day, just keep on scrolling. Go on, keep on scrolling. Trust me, you don't want to see this. Right, so for everyone that's still here, let's get into it. Right, so it's scientifically proven that when we die, our mind is still functioning. And it's true that our life literally does flash before our eyes. There's a 7-minute period of time where you will re-watch your entire life. But it won't feel like 7 minutes, it will feel like forever. It's also proven that there is no possible way that we could know we're in that state. What I mean is there is no way you would know you're dead and rewatching your life. You just think it's your life. What I'm trying to say is we could all be dead, laying in a hospital bed somewhere. And this reality is just our life flashing before our eyes in a weird way. What the hell?
Did you know it? I didn't even think about it like that. Say your life flashed before your eyes, man, but it feels like a lifetime. So are we in that state right now? Got me asking some good questions.
A teenager once hacked a military satellite using a school computer. In 2002, 17-year-old Jamie Brooks from Nebraska stayed after class, telling his teacher he was working on a science project. What no one knew was that Jamie had built his own software, using outdated manuals he found in a junk shop and code he copied from a cracked video game. One night, he managed to access a decommissioned US military satellite and briefly redirected its camera. For exactly 42 seconds, it live-streamed a secret government facility in Nevada. A few people online caught the footage. One frame showed something odd. Not a person, not a vehicle, but a figure with glowing eyes. Within hours, Jamie's computer was fried. 2 men in suits showed up at the school. Jamie never returned. His family claimed he was sent to a special program, but no one ever heard from him again. To this day, the footage is gone. But some users claim fragments still exist, buried deep in forums, behind encrypted logins. So, what exactly did Jamie see?
Scary movies that we all saw as kids that terrified us. This is the movie Monster House. The movie is about 3 friends named DJ, Chowder, and Jenny, who discover that DJ's neighbor's house is actually a living, breathing, scary monster who eats innocent children and people. The house is owned by a scary and evil old man named Nebercracker. DJ, Chowder, and Jenny make it their mission to destroy the house so no more innocent people get eaten. But it turns out that the house is haunted and possessed by Nebercracker's wife, Constance, who died in the basement by getting covered in cement. This movie is extremely creepy and scary, and it's definitely one of my favorite animated scary movies ever. If you want to watch this movie now, it's actually on Netflix. But I must say, after watching this movie, you might have a hard time sleeping.
I think I remember seeing it as a kid.
Yo, what's up? Here's some facts that will probably ruin your childhood. Part 2. You guys remember Sleeping Beauty, right? Well, what if I told you that the original story went like this? It was a princess who was sexually assaulted while she was sleeping. The guy left, and the only reason she woke up is because she found out she was pregnant with twins, and the guy came back, and they fell in love without her even realizing that she was sexually assaulted in her sleep. You guys remember Pee Wee Herman, right? A pretty goofy character. Well, in 1991, the actor that played Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubens, was arrested for indecent exposure at an adult movie theater in public, meaning he probably pulled out his private parts and, well, yeah. You guys remember the Power Rangers, right? Well, how about in particular the Red Power Ranger, played by Ricardo Medina, who actually stabbed his roommate in real life with a sword and killed him. And finally, Peter Pan was written about the author's brother, who was 13 at the time when he died after falling and cracking his skull while ice skating.
Creepiest things kids have ever said. A man's mother passed away in a car accident when he was 6 years old. When his 2-year-old daughter saw a picture of her grandmother for the first time, she laughed. He asked her, "What's so funny?" She looked at him and said, "That's my special friend who sings to me." A man's 3-year-old daughter stood next to her newborn brother and looked at him for a while. She turned back to her dad and said, "Daddy, it's a monster. We should bury it." A woman and her 4-year-old son were out in public when all of a sudden he starts rubbing on her belly and talking to it. She asked what he was doing, and he said, "I'm talking to the baby." She informed him politely that she was not pregnant, and then he said, "There is a baby in your belly. I just saw it crawl across the floor and climb up into you." A woman's 5-year-old asked when he was going to be 23 years old. She told him in 18 years. He replied, "Well, I hope I don't die again because that's how old I was the last time I went to heaven." Follow for more of the...
I'm gonna make your childhood even better. Part 2. So we all remember Fred and Daphne from the Scooby-Doo movies, right? From these Scooby-Doo movies? Well, Fred and Daphne actually got married in real life. And even have 2 kids together. Pretty cool.
Wow, I never knew that. That was a classic
I'm gonna
movie,
ruin your childhood, part 80. So everyone remembers Max from the Wizards of Waverly Place, right? Well, after Disney, he had some struggles. In 2014, he had a huge meltdown backstage at the Teen Choice Awards. A bunch of witnesses claimed that he yelled at a worker because the worker didn't know who he was. And it got so bad that he threw things at a staffer and stormed off, but it gets way worse. A couple years later, he was involved in a 4-car hit and run. His car smashed into 3 parked cars. But the craziest part is, after hitting the 3 parked cars, he just called an Uber and left the scene like that. And to make matters even worse, he got arrested for drunk driving just a little while after that as well.
Somebody was in there.
52-year-old Texas resident Karen Davis got married, and then after the ceremony and after the honeymoon, she went through the process of changing her last name from Davis to McBride to match her husband's last name. After the change was done, the last step was to get a new driver's license with the new name on it. So Karen emailed the local DMV to set up a time for her to come in and make the change to her license. But after she sent that email, the local DMV immediately emailed Karen back, and they told her that they could not help her with this request until she resolved an issue. They very cryptically said it had something to do with the state of Oklahoma. And then at the bottom of the email, there was just a phone number they told her she needed to call in order to resolve this issue. She punched this number the DMV had given her into her phone, and then she let it ring. A few moments later, a woman from the Norman, Oklahoma District Attorney's Office picked up the phone and said, "How can I help you?" Karen told her, "Hey, I was just trying to get a new license in Texas. They told me there was some sort of issue. I don't know what it is, but this is the number they gave me." The woman from the DA's office discovered Karen's so-called Oklahoma problem. And after she explained to Karen what this enormous problem was, Karen literally couldn't believe it. Suddenly, everything in Karen's life made sense. For the last 22 years, Karen, who was incredibly smart and friendly and polite and never had a problem with anyone, had an incredibly hard time getting a job. Even jobs that she was extremely qualified for, she would get turned down for someone who was way less qualified. And then, in the rare times that Karen did actually get hired, she would always get fired for no reason. And so Karen never understood why she was being treated this way until now. It would turn out 22 years earlier, which is when Karen's hireability issues began, she lived in Norman, Oklahoma. She lived with a roommate, and this roommate was this nice young man who had a couple of young kids, and one weekend he went to the local movie store called Movie Place, and he rented the hit 90s movie Sabrina the Teenage Witch to watch with his kids. And after he was done watching this movie, he didn't return the VHS tape of Sabrina the Teenage Witch back to Movie Place. When Sabrina the Teenage Witch was not returned in a timely fashion, they pressed charges against the card holder. And the card holder was Karen Davis. The roommate had just borrowed her card. And somehow, these charges against Karen were never brought up to Karen. She was never contacted by anyone, and so for 22 years, she was technically a wanted felon for felony embezzlement. And so this was the reason she kept not getting jobs and kept getting fired from jobs. Karen worked with the Norman, Oklahoma DA's office and got these charges dismissed.
That's crazy how people sometimes they don't know they have like full cases out on them. I don't know why they don't get notified of things like that. You see it's affecting their life. She wasn't getting jobs. kept getting fired, man. You would think somebody would try to notify her to like try to correct that or pay up. They didn't. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up in this video. Comment down below. Hit that post notification bell. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.